But he isn't done. He keeps raining down brutal vertical strikes all over the monster's body. He shreds the front so badly, he actually leaps behind the beast to continue the onslaught from the rear. The axe eventually shatters, but Lucas just keeps going, hammering the beast with everything his fists have left. The beast manages to grab him eventually. But before it can squeeze, Lucas triggers a dangerous technique that pulverizes the monster's hand into dust. Alright, check this out. Every single vein in Lucas's body has turned pitch black. He looks like he is finally losing every last bit of his own sanity. That Minotaur looks deadly, but get this. Lucas looks even scarier as he charges forward with a massive punch. The Minotaur never learns. It tries to block, but Lucas just shatters its defense instantly. He follows up with a brutal kick, obliterating half of the monster's chest. As he rains down blow after blow on the beast, Lucas makes one thing clear: it's dying today. Every ounce of his humanity has vanished into thin air. His mind is locked on one target, that monster, and the most brutal way to end it. Before the beast can even blink, its upper half is ripped clean off its torso, leaving it wondering what the heck just happened. The creature slams down, but Lucas isn't stopping. He keeps tearing it apart like a savage. The monster's agonizing scream finally wakes Julia and Maya, who can't believe they're actually still alive. Julia searches wildly for her brother, only to see him stomping a dead Minotaur's remains. He looks like a monster himself in this moment. Julia's heart sinks when she realizes her brother is losing his mind. She gets all the proof she needs when Lucas lets out an earth-shaking roar. That mark on the monster's chest is actually fueling Lucas's rage, pushing him over the edge. Suddenly, a terrifyingly powerful demon appears within the Hall of Wrath. It screams in fury, disgusted to be back in such a filthy, pathetic world. This is Valsaba, the demon lord of controlled wrath, and he is not happy. He is still livid about being crushed by the martial god in the past. Another demon named Gelsida, the demon lord above, also makes an entrance in the hall. Jola is impressed that Valsaba finally woke up, all thanks to the key they picked out. Valsaba takes his throne and asks Gelsida about Lucas's true potential, but she stays quiet for now. Valsaba then notices that Lucas is actually fighting to break free from Jela's own restraints. Back at the cave, Lucas is completely drowning in rage, beating the Minotaur to a pulp. Julia grabs him, begging him to wake up. Maya tries to hit him with a calming spell, but it doesn't do anything. Instead, Lucas charges up for a devastating strike. Maya screams for Julia to run, because Lucas is about to unleash a full power punch. As she's dragged back, she screams out for her big brother. Her tears and desperate cries finally reach him. You and I can see the fear in their eyes. Thankfully, Lucas shatters the demon mark on his back and finally snaps back to reality. He immediately apologizes to Julia, telling her she needs to step back for a second. Julia does exactly that, and Lucas takes a deep breath before unleashing a purification technique to cleanse this dark power once and for all. The massive blast of energy from his body completely vaporizes whatever was left of the Minotaur. Seeing that Lucas is finally back to normal, Maya and Julia rush to his side. Julia asks if he's okay, and he promises her that he is just fine. Julia tells him how terrified she was, but Lucas swears he'll never lose control like that again. Fortunately, Kai's message arrives just in time. He is finally here with the reinforcements they need. Back at the Hall of Wrath, Jelsa tells Valsaba there is no rush. They need more time to test Lucas with trials. And part of that twisted plan, wiping out his family, especially poor Julia, absolutely brutal. Suddenly, Lucas hears a faint voice, begging him to finally wake up. He blinks his eyes open and sees his family standing right there in front of him. But as he looks around, he realizes he is definitely not in familiar territory anymore. Pure terror hits him, and he throws a massive punch to smash whatever is in front. But his body moves on its own. That dark rage is taking over, consuming him again. He screams for his family until his eyes snap open in the school infirmary. He is finally back. He had just landed a heavy blow straight to Kai's face. Kai is stunned. He was just punched by a guy who was asleep. Kai fumes, claiming he would totally win this fight if he were not already nursing some injuries. Lucas offers a quick apology while Kai stumbles away, clutching his bright red nose. Once he is alone, Lucas cannot stop shaking that nightmare. Why dream something like that? He wonders if that strange cave power is still rotting his mind from within. That terrifying feeling of losing control is starting to return. It is what turned that bandit into a monster. He realized he lost himself because he let anger drive. This makes him wonder if it is even possible to stay calm when you are in the middle of a war. Lucas tries to find a solution. Maybe he just needs a babysitter, someone strong enough to hold him back the next time a fight is about to break out. But that plan is terrible. His only teammates are other students, and they are no match for his dark side. Asking them to stand in his way when he is on a rampage is basically a death sentence. Then it hits him. The only person who can stop Lucas is Lucas himself. A bit later, Siegel heads toward the infirmary and overhears two nurses gossiping about Mina. She is in really bad shape. They are complaining that Mina got hurt while protecting two useless weights from the martial arts department. Suddenly, Sigurd stops cold. He senses an advanced martial artist's aura coming from Lucas's room. He does not hesitate. He blasts toward the door, leaving nothing but a massive gust behind. Inside the room, Lucas has done it. He finally nailed the legendary clone technique. Two identical copies of Lucas are standing right there. He recalls the manuals. A clone's power usually maxes out at exactly half of the original strength. If he makes 3 of them, that power gets split up even more. It is basically divided. Each clone would only have about 1/6 of his true power. Lucas scraps the idea immediately. These guys are way too weak to hold him down if he goes crazy. Still, maybe they could at least buy him a few seconds to escape. Just then, Sigil bursts into the room looking dead serious. No games today. Sigil starts listing every weird thing that has happened since Lucas arrived. He is putting it all together. He gets straight to the point. Who are you really, and why did you join this academy? Lucas freezes before playing dumb, telling Sigil he has absolutely no clue what the man is talking about. He claims he is just there to master martial arts and get stronger. Simple as that. But then, Segal vanishes and reappears behind him, aiming a strike at his neck. But Lucas, he blocks it perfectly. Segal stares him down, waiting for the boy to finally slip up. He makes it clear the jig is up, demanding to know what his real ability is first. Lucas plays the fool again, innocently asking what he means by his real ability. Deep down, Lucas knows this man is the real deal, and having a powerhouse protector would be great. But Lucas still feels quite hesitant. Before another word is said, Catherine suddenly appears at the door, demanding to know who this man is. Then it suddenly hits him. Today is a day off, meaning parents are actually allowed to wander the campus as they please. Using her sternest voice, Catherine tells Siglet to back away from her son immediately. Julia is right there too, curiously asking Lucas who this mysterious man actually is. Lucas takes charge instantly, explaining that Sig is just his homeroom teacher from the martial arts department. He tells them that Sig was only giving him some extra coaching. Basically, he says you should never face a powerful enemy head-on. Hearing this, Sigurd realizes that Lucas is actually taking a clever little jab at him. Turns out, the kid had already heard his mother's footsteps approaching from a distance. Catherine buys the story, but insists he rest since it is his day off after all. Then Catherine turns toward Sigurd, very subtly. She makes it clear it's time for him to leave. Sig realizes he has no choice since Lucas hasn't caused any trouble so far. Once Sig finally leaves, Catherine explains she had to stay at the Miranda estate because of Lucas. Apparently, his team decided that risking their lives was the next big thing on their bucket list. Julia is shocked to learn her mom has been in town for a couple of days already. Tears fall as she tells her mother how much she missed her and wanted to see her sooner. Julia lunges at her mom, wrapping her in the tightest hug she can possibly manage. The poor woman is literally being choked out. She begs Lucas for help, but he isn't about to ruin Julia's happy moment. Lucas then pipes up, asking Catherine if Hall didn't come along with her. She says things are grim on the front lines, so after dropping her off, he headed straight back to the fight. Lucas realizes the Mirandas will take Catherine back, but they still won't accept Hall. They simply won't have him. Catherine then mentions that his father sent along a gift for his first-place finish on the entrance exam. She pops the box open and inside sits the legendary sword, passed down through generations of the Ryan family. She explains it was damaged fighting the Beastmen army years ago, and they still haven't found a way to fix it. This means it is basically useless in battle now. Regardless, it remains a precious family heirloom. Lucas's eyes sparkle with joy as he grips the blade, promising his mother that he will treasure it and live up to all of his father's high expectations. Julia is clearly getting jealous, and when the two catch her expression, they start grinning. Julia sees them laughing and looks ready to rip their heads off for smiling. Lucas pulls her in close. Patting her head, he tells her that Mom actually dotes on her the most. Suddenly, Catherine opens a box filled with beast pills. Catherine explains that she brought these specifically for Lucas to use. But she also baked special sweets just for Julia. The second Julia sees the treats, her anger completely vanishes into thin air. She jumps for joy, shouting how much she loves her mom. Finally, Catherine pulls out a letter for Jeremy. Catherine reveals a message from their father, along with some special pills meant for Jeremy. It seems that Catherine delivered them personally because Jessica was unable to follow them this time. Julia takes the letter, promising to deliver it despite her clear dislike for Jeremy. Later on, Julia visits the boys' dormitory, and the students are stunned to see the legendary genius standing at their doorstep. Once they realize that Julia is actually Jeremy's sister, the boys swarm him, begging to have the genius join their next mission. This just infuriates Jeremy, who angrily slaps his friend's hand away. Jeremy storms off in a jealous huff, leaving everyone confused by his sudden, bitter attitude. Apparently, he is bitter that since he started school, his parents have not visited him even once. Yet they came for Lucas and even gifted him a legendary sword for his top exam scores. Jeremy is absolutely livid that Lucas is getting all the praise and attention. Now, he vows to reclaim everything he feels should have been his from the start. Before they even know it, their fun time quickly ends, and their mother has no choice but to return home to the Miranda estate. Though Julia and Lucas hate to see her go, they are happy she is nearby. Meanwhile, poor Mina remains seriously injured, so Lucas prepared a special potion for her. He claimed it came from the Miranda family, and because of this lie, nobody questioned the liquid's miraculous and incredible recovery effects. 2 weeks pass smoothly until the day of the famous Allen Tower event arrives. As the Marshall students celebrate, Sigalt appears and tells them to pipe down immediately. He reminds them that this tower tour is a vital part of their elite education. As expected, the arrogant mages start mocking the Marshall students the moment they step into the venue. Kai is ready to snap, but Lucas steps in to keep his friend calm. Lucas knows perfectly well that the mages despise them, believing they only got their spots through sheer dumb luck. Honestly, even the first-year mage teachers complained to the headmaster, claiming that martial masters are totally useless. Because of this, they demanded the martial arts department surrender their spots in the tower. Despite all the drama, Sigalt did not seem to be worried at all. Lucas is left wondering if Sigalt truly trusts the headmaster this much, or if he has something else to rely on. Sigalt soon gathers his class for a quick but very serious pep talk. He explains that every year, the third-year students enter the tower first to set a proper example. Moments later, the senior students are ordered to prepare for their long-awaited entrance. It turns out that Jeremy is also one of those entering the tower. After 3 long years at the school, he is finally getting his shot at the tower. Essentially, this was his own fault for never ranking in the top 100 before now. As they prepare to go in, Julia shows up to support her brother. While other students admire the Year 1 genius, Jeremy refuses to even acknowledge his sister. Julia is left disappointed. But truth is, she only went through with it because her mother gave the order. While the students prep for entry, Jeremy swears he will finally surpass Lucas. As they step inside the tower, the students must place their magic staffs out front and keep their eyes tightly closed. Jeremy recognizes that voice, but for the life of him, he can't place it. Plot twist, the man inside the control room is none other than director Atani. With everything set, Atani channels his massive power to force the tower doors open. Golden light floods the tower, and Lucas instantly senses a powerful martial artist's fighting spirit. He is shocked. Someone in this school actually has more martial power than Sigurd. That is when it clicks, Sigurd was never actually worried. No one can steal their slots, because only the absolute strongest martial artist can unlock the Allen Tower. Weeks before this, the headmaster met with Atani to discuss the mountain of complaints flooding his office. He explains that a ton of people are demanding he revoke the entry slots for the martial arts department. To understand the mess, the headmaster asks Atani for more details on this strange anomaly. Atani just answers, "He already said it, there is no anomaly here that can threaten the school." Atani ends the meeting, ordering the headmaster to stay the course while he opens the Allen Tower. The headmaster finally realizes the truth: if the martial department does not get their shot, no one enters the Allen Tower, period. All right, you and I are back in the present day. Jeremy lands inside, only to realize that it is just his consciousness that made it. Wait, everything looks different. Even his magic staff looks exactly like his old physical one. His teammates notice him spacing out since it is his first time visiting the tower. But instead of helping him, they just tell him to hurry up and meet them so the mission can start. Meanwhile, back on the outside, Lucas figures out he can sense mental energy waves, letting him spy on exactly what students do inside. He sees how Jeremy is being treated and realizes the poor guy is getting bullied from the start. Sagel sees Lucas sitting perfectly still and likely realizes exactly what the kid is up to. He then decides it is time to explain the entire process to his students. He warns them that once the trial starts, they will be teleported to a completely random location, somewhere in deep space. He tells them they have a choice: go at it solo or form a team. But if they do team up, the absolute maximum is 3 people per squad. It is that simple. He makes it clear, working in groups is the only way to reach the upper floors. Hearing this, Kai just assumes that Lucas will obviously be teaming up with him. Right. But Lucas crushes those dreams, saying he is only teaming with Sharp and Collins. Looking at the tournament rankings, Lucas explains, the 3 of them are going to end up in different groups. All Kai can think about is how he is going to end up totally alone. Moments later, 3 of the third-year students come walking right out of the tower. The freshmen are shocked. They barely spent any time inside that tower before coming out. Sagel explains that the phantom enemies inside Allen Tower actually scale in power based on student ability. He warns them those who underestimate this test will get knocked out immediately. Stick around. Lucas then decides to see how Jeremy is handling the heat inside the tower. Apparently, Jeremy has caught up to his squad and they're already pushing for floor 2. Once they reach the second floor, beasts launch a surprise ambush, but Jeremy reacts instantly, using his power to snare them, giving his team the perfect opening to finish them and rack up huge points. This confirms the rumors. The second floor really is as dangerous as they say. Still, the team keeps moving, clearing out swarms of monsters while stacking up even more points. Through pure grit, they reach the third floor, but that's where they finally get wiped. As they walk out of the tower, a teammate asks Jeremy why he's so quiet, but he just smiles and says he's happy. He finally understands the weight his father carries while fighting on the front lines. Because of this, he feels he's now one step closer to his father. Hours later, Lucas finds he can use mental sensing to see everything up to floor 3. He notices that the phantom enemies change their traits every time a new trial starts. And even the same monster types get way stronger the higher a person climbs. Lucas wonders if these phantoms are actually based on real creatures from the world. If that's the case, he can only imagine how terrifying Otten's real combat experiences are. He's sure Atani has seen through his act, just like Sagal did before. But he can tell they're both content to just sit back and watch him. Now he's left wondering if they have good intentions, or if he should worry. Not long after, Mina and her group gather together to enter the tower. Top groups have apparently reached the 4th floor. And everyone is cheering for Mina's squad to catch up to the top. Julia is being herself, jumping around and screaming for Mina to do her best. Unlike Jeremy, she turns to give Julia thanks. The teacher asks if her wounds have healed, and Mina promises she's recovered completely. The teacher urges her to give her all, while students marvel at her social skills. A student points out that Mina is incredible, becoming vice president in her 2nd year. They believe her skills are unmatched, save for the president from back in the day. However, they know she's not popular, and Mina hears them badmouthing her character right away. In no time at all, Mina and her team reach the 3rd floor. They just dash through it. They skip every pointless fight just to reach the 4th floor faster. Lucas is impressed. Hitting floor 4 in 30 minutes is a massive feat for 3rd years. Once they hit the 4th floor, they run into elite beastmen, twice as large as the ones from the 3rd floor. The team finally understands why most students get knocked out right at this point. Instead of stopping to plan, Mina simply one-shots every monster standing in her way. Clearly, she realizes that previous mission really helped her power grow. She knows these monsters are nothing compared to the Minotaur she faced in the cave. After clearing the first wave of beasts, Mina tells her crew she is leaving the messy cleanup to them. She starts hunting for the path to the 5th floor, but as she keeps searching, more monsters jump out, forcing her into even more combat. One brutal fight later, the team hits the 5th floor, leaving everyone stunned. Kai is totally floored. He can only dream of reaching the 5th floor himself. Sigil tells him to chill. There is no rush when reaching the 3rd floor is already enough. Sigil promises that if they keep grinding and sharpening their skills, those scary 5th floor enemies won't seem so tough. Lucas hears this and realizes Sigil has definitely been inside this tower before. Moments later, Mina emerges from the tower. Looking at her face, she's absolutely crushed. Lucas can tell instantly that she failed her mission. High up in his office, Thowd watches and laughs. He mocks Mina for even trying to outdo a genius. Later on, Julia, Lucas, and Mina regroup in the cafeteria. You and I see Julia cheering for Mina's trial victory. Lucas adds his praise, shocked she actually made it to the 5th floor. But Mina is bummed out. She didn't manage to break Thowd's record. Julia is totally lost. They both finished on level 5, so isn't that technically a tie? Mina explains that by the time she reached the 6th floor stairs, she was completely drained. But Thowd, he actually climbed those stairs and nearly forced the 6th floor door open. Because of that, Mina feels she is still trailing behind Thowd in tactics, magic control, and pure grit. She quickly changes the subject though. Asking if they found teams yet, Julia excitedly admits she is finally pairing up with Iowa. Apparently Iowa bragged it was only happening because her father ordered the match. But Lucas knows better. He thinks the Mirandas finally respect Julia's insane potential. That is why they are making a move. Lucas then reveals his own squad with Sharp and Collins. Julia is stunned. She totally thought he would be teaming with Kai. Lucas explains their rankings are just too different, so they got split into different groups. Lucas tried to explain it all to Kai. But the guy is still clinging on. He's sobbing and calling him a traitor for leaving, while Kai is busy having a total meltdown. Tishi appears and offers Kai a spot on her team. She's looking for one last member. The second Kai hears that, he practically teleports to Tishi's team. At the training grounds, Sigil is hyped that everyone has a squad. He tells them to get fired up because they all know the trash talk behind their backs, since they know all the nasty things people say about them. Sig suggests they work together to make sure those insults never come true. Tishi steps up to motivate, promising they will grind so hard that all the haters' plans completely fall apart. The rest join in, ready to prove they really deserve their Allen Tower entry slots. Lucas is seriously impressed. You and I can see how Sigurd turned trash into pure motivation. Sigurd. Motivation hit different this time. The whole team started grinding harder than ever in their training. During their short breaks, Sig would drop some serious knowledge they would need to survive. Sometimes, Siglet even stepped up himself, playing the villain to spar with his own students. Training was absolute hell, no question about it. But zero complaints. They knew the stakes. Finally, the big day arrived. The freshman trial was officially here. Word gets out to the school that the martial arts department is joining the trial. Their monster taming results were too good to ignore. Now, they were officially in the game. The squad gathers up, eyes locked on Sigil as he gives his final pre-game speech. His advice, simple: once you're inside, move fast. He tells them to regroup at the central stairs immediately. Run if the path is clear, and avoid every fight you can. But if you are cornered, fight like a demon. Make sure you at least take an enemy down with you. The mage students overhear this and start laughing. They are already talking trash about the fighters. They joke that even their own teacher thinks they are too weak to actually win. In fact, they are actually excited. They can't wait to see these fighters get torn apart once they face real magical beasts. The mages are betting the entire department gets wiped out in 3 minutes flat. But this time, Kai stays cool, no temper tantrum. Lucas smiles, seeing his friend finally growing some thick skin. Ready or not, the examiner calls the 12 students to step forward and begin. Hidden in the shadows, Atani watches everything unfold with a sharp eye. He knows it is time. The war god's legacy is finally ready to fulfill its grand purpose. Lucas takes the lead, and the students march into the tower for their first real trial. The moment they enter, Lucas notices everyone following the plan, dodging enemies and beelining for the central stairs. But Lucas, he is a different breed. He decides to head the exact opposite way. Turns out the first floor is crawling with goblins who love dirty tricks. These monsters use magic to blind you before they move in for the kill. Lucas spots them instantly. He tells Sharp and Collins to hold back and wait for him. He tells them he needs to test something out real quick. Don't worry, though. He promises he will be back before they even miss him. Lucas sends out a clone to slay a goblin, but just as he thought, he didn't gain a single point. He realizes the phantom energy making up these tower monsters is actually identical to the mana he uses in his clones. That realization hits him instantly. These phantoms were made by the same martial artist who originally created this tower. Since the energy matches, he figures his clones can move around without being detected by the system. Lucas comes up with a brilliant, high-level plan. He will use a clone to guard his friends while his real self clears the floors. Then, a wild idea hits. He can actually shapeshift his clone into a magical beast. He gives it a shot and it works like a charm, perfect disguise. His clones transform into goblins. Lucas smirks. Now he has the perfect ghost key to move freely through the tower. Watching from afar, Atani is stunned. Lucas mastered that high-level cloning skill in record time. Still, he is curious to see what Lucas does next. Will he just carry his classmates and win points for them like he always does? Because constantly carrying them will only stunt their growth in the long run. A few team members find themselves boxed in by 3 goblins and a massive giant. This is a nightmare scenario, since their current level only allows them to handle 2 goblins at most. Right then, one student remembers a key weakness. These goblins are actually quite dim-witted and move pretty slowly. He shouts for the group to back away from the giant and create some breathing room. This clever distance should give them just enough time to pick off those goblins. They put the plan into motion immediately, luring the goblins into a desperate chase. Just as one student is about to be overwhelmed, an ally swings in for the save. They drive the goblin down with a heavy strike. They find their rhythm as the horde presses in, finally managing to drive a blade through one goblin's chest. The students can hardly believe their own eyes. It hits them that Siglet was right. If they actually cooperate, clearing the first floor is totally possible. Riding that wave of victory, they charge straight for the next remaining goblin. Watching from the shadows is Lucas, keeping a close eye on them. Plot twist, that dead goblin was just his clone. Essentially, he is testing them, pushing their limits so they can finally experience the pure thrill of battle. Earlier, Greg and his crew of haters were watching as the martial arts team was surrounded by monsters. Since they despised the martial artists, they were already placing bets on their miserable and messy deaths. Greg is totally certain the students are about to humiliate themselves. But when the students actually win, Greg looks like he is losing his mind. It finally clicks for Greg that the momentum of this game has completely shifted. Inside the tower, the martial arts team has found their confidence, hunting down goblins without a single hint of fear. Through perfect teamwork, they corner the monsters and deliver the final, crushing blows. When Greg sees them take down 2 advanced goblins, he is left boiling with pure, concentrated rage. Siglet, however, is beaming and uses this massive win to fire up the rest of the group. The others roar in excitement, but the mage class students still claim it was nothing but dumb luck. Suddenly, they notice a weird aura vanish around the victors, making Siglet wonder if Lucas is pulling strings behind the scenes. Sometime later, Lucas regrouped with Sharp and Collins in a safe area. The two are relieved to see him, as they were already starting to panic. Lucas explains he was warped far away and asks if they have spotted any other survivors. They inform him that only one team is still missing, in action right now. Aside from those few, everyone else has already gathered at the designated meeting point. As Lucas greets the rest of his comrades, he sees they are exhausted, but thankfully, no one has any life-threatening injuries. Lucas knows the team that beat the goblins will be arriving any second now. He tells them that once the group is whole, they will immediately push toward the second floor. Outside, the haters are still refusing to admit that the martial arts department is actually crushing it. They keep insisting the team only made it to floor 2 by running away like cowards. Greg is nearly biting his tongue in frustration. He is struggling to wrap his head around their success. Most first-year mage students fail here, so how did this whole team reach the second floor? Looking at the current situation, Greg realizes that the martial arts department is becoming a massive threat to the mage's power. The team hits the second floor. Everyone gets teleported randomly based on how well their group performed. Apparently, the stronger your team is, the harder the tower fights back. Lucas doesn't want casualties, so he sends clones to scout for his missing classmates. His clones shift into wolf forms, hunting for any sign of the others. Sharp and Collins regroup with Lucas, checking to see how he is faring. Lucas drops the bad news: the enemies are everywhere, and they are hunting in packs. Sharp confirms it's practically impossible to sneak through without a massive fight. Lucas reminds them that's the point. This trial is all about getting combat experience. Collins nods along. Running away now would completely ruin the purpose of the trial. Suddenly, a monster drops from above, aiming right for Lucas's head. The attack connects in a massive explosion of dust, while his friends scream in panic. But as the dust settles, Lucas is standing there, totally unharmed. He brushes it off and tells them he's fine. Collins is shocked that Lucas dodged. He didn't even feel the enemy until it hit. Sharp admits if that were him, he'd be a goner for sure. The real fight begins now, and the squad holds their ground against the swarm. After dropping one, Lucas warns the guys to clear this first wave fast. If they don't move now, they're going to get completely overwhelmed by the enemy's main army. Suddenly, Collins starts losing it. He's shaking so hard he actually dropped his dagger. While they're totally distracted, another beast lunges in, but Lucas shouts out a warning just in time. Sharp blocks the strike, but the monster actually snatches the weapon right out of his hand. Suddenly, Siglet's warning about floor 2 comes back. These things are on a whole other level. They're way stronger and dangerously smart this time. They can set traps, launch ambushes, and even disarm you in a fight. Sharp isn't scared about losing his sword. In fact, he's totally fired up. He's ready to show these beasts who's boss, and suddenly, the monster gets tagged. Turns out, Sharp came prepared with a secret gauntlet hidden under his gear. He charges the monster, shouting that nobody beats him when it comes to raw strength. He almost lands a massive blow, but the monster barely leaps back to safety. But here's the thing, this was actually a well-planned move by Sharp and Collins. Collins catches the monster halfway, delivering a brutal slash from the shadows. While the monster is still howling from that strike, Sharp finishes it with a devastating punch to the chest, ending the fight right there. Lucas watches from the side, totally impressed by their flawless teamwork. Lucas already handled his own monster, so he suggests that they keep moving forward. All for the absolute pride of the martial arts department. Outside the tower, Greg is shocked that not a single student has dropped out yet. He knows they should have been swarmed by monsters the moment they reach this floor. It's a complete mystery how any of them are still alive right now. The mage students are starting to cook up some wild theories. They claim the tower difficulty was lowered just because the martial arts guys are weak. But one student knows better. The teachers would have definitely complained by now. Meanwhile, over on the second floor, Lucas and his crew are tearing through monsters, absolutely fearless. They're crushing skeleton soldiers, wolves, and everything else in their path. Even when things look deadly, not a single one of them flinches or backs down. If someone loses focus or gets flanked by an enemy, a teammate is there instantly to cover their back. Their teamwork, honestly, it's on a whole different level. Before long, Collins and Sharp are already breathing heavy, feeling the exhaustion kick in. Lucas hears them struggling, and he secretly triggers the hero's battle cry, sending a massive wave of energy to recharge his allies. This secret technique is a legendary Ryan family exclusive. With that boost, Lucas is confident they can conquer the second floor as a united front. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a monster lunges for a surprise strike on Collins and Sharp. They're caught completely off guard, pinned down with zero room to maneuver. Right before they're crushed, a stray arrow whistles through the air and drops the beast instantly. Turns out, that save came from a student on a completely different team. Together, the groups wipe out their enemies, racking up massive points. With this insane momentum, the whole crew actually believes they can push through to the third floor. Moments later, Greg realizes the entire team has reached the third floor stairs, and he nearly pisses himself in shock. Even the other instructors are starting to notice, noting that these martial arts students are moving like seasoned pros, not freshmen. They're already showering Seagull with praise, wondering what kind of secret training he gave them. Suddenly, Greg breaks into a sinister grin, claiming that most won't make it because they've already hit their absolute breaking point. He's certain they'll have no choice but to trigger an emergency exit from the tower. Right on cue, the students are looking completely drained as they hit the stairs. A few are actually stumbling, forced to lean on their friends just to stay upright. Collins is at the end of his rope, and he tells them to leave him behind and keep going. Suddenly, others start dropping too, begging Lucas to carry their legacy up to the third floor. But then, Sharp speaks up, reminding everyone just how much ground they've already covered, saying it'd be a shame if they didn't finish this journey as a team. Lucas is moved. He backs Sharp up, reminding everyone they're in this together. He rallies them to dig deep so they can all cross that final threshold together. Fired up by the speech, everyone vows to squeeze out every last drop of energy to reach that next level. Moments later, the system announces the impossible. All 12 students have successfully made it to floor 3. Once they hit the third floor, they're instantly swarmed by a horde, and students start dropping like flies, one by one. The first squad to be eliminated is in shock, describing how they were overwhelmed by brutal enemies they couldn't even see properly. It turns out that Lucas was knocked out too, but he's already realized that the third floor is the absolute limit for the martial arts department this year. He even let his physical body get ejected just to keep suspicions low. But his hidden clone, still inside the tower. This way, he can secretly carry the second martial arts group up to the third floor as well. By doing this, If everyone in martial arts scored high, Lucas could easily blend in without drawing any unwanted attention. Tishi ends up leading the pack with 55 points, while Lucas stays quiet in the middle with 43. Lucas realizes he might have dodged the spotlight personally, but something bigger just happened. He inadvertently pushed the entire martial arts department right into the limelight. Now get this, Greg is stunned to see every martial arts student made it to the third floor. This is bad news. Usually, only the elite course can pull off a stunt like that, and Greg knows it. Now, he is obsessed with crushing the martial arts department in points, floors, and basically everything else. Right after that, the mage class steps into the tower, and they don't hold anything back from the very first floor. They start blasting their magic power around like crazy. Watching this, Atani wonders if losing to the martial arts guys is actually a punishable offense now. But he is staying patient, waiting to see what kind of spells these mages actually have for the higher floors. Honestly, Atani is disappointed. These mages have already lost their cool, and they just started. Before long, bad news starts rolling in. The mages are dropping like flies. Even the worst students barely scraped by to the third floor, leaving Greg in a total nightmare. Greg just cannot accept it. He grabs one of the examiners, demanding to know if they secretly pumped up the monster count when his mages went inside. Linda steps in though, telling Greg to grow up and stop making a fool of himself in public. She is confident the tower is working perfectly, unless Greg is admitting that his own skills have just gone downhill. Stunned, Greg can only watch in absolute horror as Linda walks over to have a friendly chat with Sigil. Turns out, Linda was praising Sigil because his class totally outperformed the mages. Sigil stays humble though, giving all the credit to his students for their hard work. Then he reminds Linda that the elite class is up next, and she should probably be there. But Linda isn't worried. She trusts her students so much that she doesn't even feel the need to watch. Besides, she has total faith in her rep, Julia. Meanwhile, Julia is busy fangirling over her brother, claiming he could clear the fourth floor easily if he tried. The examiner cuts the chatter short though, telling her and the team that it is time to move out. Lucas gives his sister a shout, telling her to do her best and remember to eat her candy. The examiner is confused why Lucas is so focused on candy, but as Julia pops it in, we see the truth. He takes a closer look and realizes that it is actually a high-grade pill that instantly restores magic power. The examiner is floored, who uses something that expensive for a school trial. Martial artists who can make these are super rare. Like always, Julia realizes she has been played by her brother the moment she swallows that pill. Lucas knows she has plenty of magic power, but he has a plan. Since everyone else takes meds before trials, he figures one more won't hurt. Now, Lucas is absolutely certain that Julia is going to crush this exam. Inside the tower, Julia launches a lightning strike so powerful it leaves Iowa standing there with her jaw dropped. Like it was nothing, Julia just smiles and tells her teammate to stick close and stay safe. Moving on, Julia shreds through the monsters, making the whole dungeon crawl look like a walk in the park. Derek is just stoked to have her on the squad, but Iowa, she could not care less. Iowa claims that in the real world, she would have just mind-controlled these beasts to slaughter each other. Julia actually agrees with her, admitting Iowa would be a nightmare on a battlefield. Too bad her mental magic is useless against these mindless tower monsters. Since her usual tricks do not work, Iowa decides to act as the team is eyes and ears instead. She is bummed about being dead weight, but shocked that Julia is not even frustrated with her. Honestly, Julia even goes as far as praising her unique skills. Being her typical self, Iowa just brushes it off, telling Julia she will let her keep the spotlight for just a little while longer. But then Iowa stops dead, and Julia slams right into her back. When Julia asks what is up, Iowa just plays it off like it is nothing. But she is secretly freaked out, because she senses something strange that definitely is not a monster or a student. Before long, the squad clears the third floor and steps onto floor number 4. And surprise, surprise, That mysterious presence Iowa felt was actually Luca's watching from the shadows. Back at the academy, the teachers lose their minds when the announcement hits that 3 freshmen reached floor 4. They start showering Linda with praise. But she stays humble, insisting that the students deserve all the credit for their own hard work. Lucas hears this and nods. Julia is incredible, and while the magic pill helps, it is not everything. Climbing these final floors is going to take real skill, not just a power boost. He has total faith in his sister is power. So Lucas decides to just observe without stepping in. Meanwhile, Julia is still tearing through the tower. Suddenly, 4 enemies ambush her from behind before Iowa can even get a word out. She is almost hit when Derek comes in clutch, incinerating the whole group in a massive blaze. Derek figures Julia is probably just exhausted after carrying them through the entire 3rd floor. He offers to take the lead now. But a monster arrow nearly takes his head off. He barely dodges and roasts the archers in one shot. After the kill, he tries to look cool and aura farm. But the girls just ignore his posing and keep moving forward. Iowa warns them that a dozen fast-moving signals are closing in, and they need to haul it. They race for the exit, but suddenly, heavy steel bars slam down and block their path. They whip around to see what is coming, and find a massive pig-headed beast and a wolf staring at them, ready for a feast. They are completely surrounded by an entire pack of those pig monsters and their wolf lackeys. This makes everything much worse, especially since that metal gate usually requires specific metal magic to open from the inside. But Iowa has a different plan, and she is not giving up just yet. One of the beasts lunges forward with a roar. But Julia throws up a lightning barrier, sending the monster flying back into the dirt. Iowa points out that metal melts if you get it hot enough, so now it is all on Derek. Even with the barrier up, the monsters keep throwing themselves at the team like total maniacs. Julia starts feeling the strain of holding the defense, but she refuses to back down. That is when she spots Iowa standing perfectly still, holding her staff against her forehead. Julia calls out to her, and Iowa snaps back that she does not have time for explanations. Instead, she starts barking out perfect call-outs, pinpointing exactly where the next wave is hitting from. Julia jumps into action right away, blasting the enemies with a fatal shock before they can even close the distance. Meanwhile, Iowa keeps her mental magic active to scout for any hidden threats. Facing these insane monsters, Iowa realizes the 4th floor is definitely not some kind of joke. After reading the field, IA tells Julia to clear out the right side first. And she follows Iwa's instructions. But Julia is secretly panicking as her magic power starts running dangerously low. She informs Iowa that her only remaining move is to try and seal the giant's movements for now. Iowa suggests waiting for the perfect opening before they try to take down the wolf. Julia acknowledges the command and charges straight for that wolf. Deep down, Iowa is furious at herself for being dead weight, while Julia pushes past her absolute limits. Unleashing massive lightning strikes, Julia manages to wipe out every last wolf. But she can only manage to restrain the giant. Grinning, Julia asks if she can finally brag about protecting her classmates like a true class rep once they make it back home. As usual, Iowa snaps that she's getting ahead of herself, and the two share a quick laugh. Suddenly, a new monster lunges right at them, catching them both completely off guard. Aya feels like a failure. She was too distracted to notice a whole new group approaching. Before Iowa can react, the monster crushes her, but she screams at Julia to just turn and run. Seeing things go south, Derek steps in and carves out a narrow path for Julia to escape. Julia screams for Derek to come with her, refusing to leave him behind. But Derek insists that she can't afford to waste any more magic on this floor. The monster grows even more aggressive, which forces Derek to unleash a massive firestorm, telling Julia to go while he holds it off. After finally getting knocked out, Derek tells Iowa his instincts took over to protect Julia, but he's proud of how they fought. Iowa plays it cool, claiming she was just returning the favor after Julia saved her life. Iwa makes sure Derek knows that she would have outperformed everyone else if this tower wasn't such a nightmare for mental magic users. Meanwhile, Atani watches, and you and I can see he's genuinely impressed with how they coordinated to cover each other's weaknesses. As it turns out, Atani knows that a clone of Lucas is still lurking inside the tower. Lucas is currently tearing through the tower floors, staying right on his sister's heels. Julia, on the other hand, is desperately racing toward the safe zone, fully aware that her magic power is almost nearly gone. She charges through the enemy lines with pure, unyielding determination. Holding nothing back, she rains down devastating lightning strikes on her foes. Even though she's completely drained, she keeps pushing forward, determined not to let her friend's sacrifices be in vain. Suddenly, something blurs past her, and all her exhaustion just disappears. She doesn't know it, but Lucas just zipped by and used the hero's battle cry to boost her spirit. This skill essentially erases fatigue by cranking the user's fighting spirit to the max. Plus, her attack and defense get a 30% buff for 10 minutes. Lucas is certain that with this boost, Julia has everything she needs to conquer floor 4. The tower's about to close, so let's see if our heroes can make it out in time. Alright, you and I are watching Lucas realize that if he wants those upper floors, speed is everything. Seconds later, he hits the 5th floor, and it's basically one giant underwater world. Swimming deeper, he spots a massive water monster looking for its next meal. But since he's aiming for the top, our main character knows he can't waste time on small fries. He vanishes from sight, creating a clone and transforming it into a terrifying beast to scare the other monsters away. With the path cleared, Lucas makes some serious ground without breaking a sweat. 15 minutes pass, and while Lucas pushes forward, his sister is giving it everything she has. 20 minutes later, Julia finally reaches the tower's safe zone, gasping for air in pure relief. But at that exact moment, Lucas steps onto the 6th floor, but as soon as he crosses the threshold, he's met with a total void. To his shock, there isn't a single monster in sight on this level. The only thing standing in the center of the emptiness is a strange monument. Lucas approaches, feeling the stone literally drinking his fighting spirit like a thirsty beast. Suddenly, the monument reacts, glowing with a golden light that reveals Mars's legendary weapon. On the other hand, Atani is actually impressed. Lucas finally made it to the 6th floor. Watching through the feed, Atani realizes this is the fabled legacy of the martial god itself. But things are looking grim. Julia is reaching her breaking point, and she's fading fast. The second she drops out, the tower will seal itself shut for everyone. Staring into the stone, Lucas is pulled into a vision of Mars facing off against a massive, ancient evil. The dark entity sneers, telling Mars that his past victory was only temporary. Apparently, they've already planted their seeds of corruption throughout the entire world. The monster promises Mars that even if it takes 10,000 years, they'll eventually return to finish the job. Mars doesn't even blink. He just ignores the trash talk and charges up his ultimate secret technique. Destruction Fang, he punches the guy into pure oblivion. Lucas snaps back to reality, drenched in sweat and wondering if he just witnessed the martial god's history. He has no clue when that battle happened, but those words about leaving seeds in the world are stuck in his head. He starts connecting the dots, all the monsters they've faced so far, like the Minotaur and those zombies, might be from that ancient evil. Lucas reaches out to the monument, desperate to uncover more secrets. But suddenly, he feels a lethal strike coming from behind. With lightning reflexes, he leaps backward just in time. To his shock, the attacker wasn't even aiming for him. They were trying to shatter the monument instead. Suddenly, Lucas finds himself standing outside the tower. And it hits him, Julia must have finally hit her limit. Since the monument is gone, Lucas realizes there's zero reason to step foot in the Allen Tower again. But then, he feels a strange, new power humming deep inside his soul. He realizes it's because he witnessed the true essence of the martial god's technique. With Julia out, the trial is officially called off, and the students are told the tower is being sealed. Julia is met with a massive round of applause for being the first freshman to reach floor 5. Back at the library, Atani finds the headmaster waiting for him with a serious look. The old man wastes no time, asking for a full report on the tower trial. Atani keeps it cool, claiming absolutely nothing out of the ordinary happened. The headmaster brings up the mages. These freshman results are a disaster. So many students failed to earn even a single point, and that is just not normal. Atani shrugs, noting there were only 18 students with 0 points. Last year had 12, so he figures it is all just a minor margin of error. Nothing to panic about. The headmaster argues back. Only half as many students reached the second floor compared to last year. Atani just tells him to take it up with Greg and the other teachers. Atani actually wants to know how they managed to train students who lose their cool the second things get a little bit intense. He points out that the headmaster has been so hyper-focused on the mages that he missed the massive anomaly happening right in the martial arts department. This catches the headmaster off guard. What kind of anomaly could the martial arts department possibly have? After the trial, something incredible happened. 4 martial arts students broke their innate limits and are pushing to level up right now. In fact, Sigurd is already assisting them. The headmaster is stunned. If this is true, it means one thing. Alan Tower might actually have a secret effect that supercharges a martial artist's growth and ability. He knows pure chaos will erupt if this information goes public. Countless martial artists are out there, and they are desperate for any chance to level up. Deep down, the headmaster would have shut down the trial already if they were not looking for a powerful martial artist to be the tower's next administrator. The headmaster orders him to keep quiet, and Atani promises his lips are sealed. Meanwhile, the mage freshmen are celebrating. At least the new record holder is still a mage, the incredible Julia. They love having her on their side, but they cannot stand that her brother is just a martial artist. Jeremy overhears them talking as he walks past. And he is absolutely livid, in every situation. Lucas is the one stealing the spotlight. He still cannot wrap his head around Lucas being Julia's actual brother. Later, Thowd struts into the cafeteria, feeling like a total boss. The students start cheering for him, naturally. He beams with pride, convinced he is still the school's #1 idol, even if Julia beat his record. But his ego takes a massive hit when the crowd spots Julia sitting nearby, and they immediately ditch him. He instantly loses his cool and flies right over to Julia's table to tell her that she might be talented. But she should not get cocky just because she cleared the tower's 5th floor. Julia does not even look up. She is way more interested in her lunch than his petty venting. He tries to double down, but then he realizes the entire student body is swarming around Julia now. Furious, he takes off, shouting that she is going to regret ever messing with him. Julia is baffled. She asks her brother what is wrong with Thowd. Lucas tells her not to worry and just focus on finishing her meal. Thowd does not realize his intimidation failed because Lucas kept his battle cry active to boost Julia's defense. Then Mina suddenly appears. Everyone's talking about how weird it is for Thea to leave. Stick with me, it gets weirder. Mina then congratulates Julia. She's even more talented than Mina first believed. Julia stays humble. She says her teammates are the ones who really helped her. Then Mina asks a big question. Would Derrick and Iowa be useful for the Goddess Memorial Festival, too? This is news to Lucas and Julia. They know zero about this Goddess Memorial event. Mina explains that their school, along with Kyoto Magic School and Holy Magic School, make up the Empire's big 3 institutions. Every year, 9 elite freshmen are selected from these 3 to crown the top genius. Since Julia is so talented, Mina is sure she'll be representing them. Lucas finds it interesting, but you and I know Julia might not care about the glory. Soon afterward, Lucas tells Julia he's done playing her alarm clock because he sees her as someone who can handle herself now. On the very first day of this change, Julia oversleeps, forcing her to use Thunder Dash just to try and reach class on time. She ends up slamming right into Iowa. who just stares with a frozen, cold expression while telling Julia to watch her step. By the time Julia makes it to class, she realizes she forgot her textbook. While she's panicking, Iowa notices and decides to slide a bit closer to her. She drops her book on the table so they can share. How helpful. Even at the library, when Julia's hand can't reach a high shelf, Iowa is right there to grab it for her. Before she can even say thanks, Iowa has already walked out. Later, Julia asks Lucas to tell her how Iowa actually feels about her. But he lets her know she'll have to figure that mystery out on her own. Sometime later, Julia sees Iwa watching an old man perform a magic trick with his power. But since she can't replicate it, Iwa looks completely miserable and distraught. Julia notices and immediately creates a beautiful magic bird with her power just for Iwa. Instead, she crushes the bird and nearly breaks Julia's mind with mental magic. The terrified girl flees in fear. Later that night, Julia returns to find that Iowa is already sound asleep. However, she left a heartfelt note behind. She apologized for what happened, leaving cookies, while suggesting that they hang out the next day. Iowa smiles when she sees this and decides to go out with Julia. The next morning, Iowa goes to the meeting point way ahead of schedule. But Julia shows up late as usual. Iowa's ready to complain until she sees that Lucas is tagging along too. Julia excitedly tells Iowa that Lucas promised to pay for everything. Iowa's face shows she doesn't want Lucas there, and he can clearly feel it. To make matters worse, they run into Maya, who asks them where they're heading. Julia immediately uses the chance to ask Maya to join them. And since Lucas is going, Mia quickly accepts the invite. With that, the whole group heads out to Dacton's Gourmet Street. While the girls are rejoicing, Lucas is crying inside because his bank account is about to take a massive and painful loss. Julia is in pure heaven because she knows exactly what she's there to eat. Lucas is weeping internally, wondering exactly how much money he's about to spend today. Plus, he's stuck with the icy Iowa and his ex-fiancée. Talk about a brutal punishment for him. But as it turns out, all right, you and I can see everyone has different reasons for being here. Iowa only wanted Julia, but got dragged along anyway. Meanwhile, Maya is just thrilled to finally have a chance to talk to Lucas away from school grounds. Julia excitedly leads the whole group to a sweet shop. But then, absolute disaster strikes. Only 2 slots left. Julia falls to her knees in pure horror, crying about how much she needed to visit this shop. Mia reads the room and pulls a total pro move. She tells the group her doctor strictly forbade her from eating any sweets. She suggests Julia and Iowa take the spots while she and Lucas wait outside together. Julia double-checks if she is sure, and Mia gives her the green light. Without a second thought, Julia shoves Iowa inside so they can start their sugar-filled adventure. Once they are gone, Lucas thanks Mia for her quick thinking. But Mia just smiles. She is just happy to see the siblings getting along. Mia mentions that Julia is so energetic, which brings back memories of when they went out as kids. Lucas is confused and asks what she means by that. She reminds him of that time they visited the exotic beast exhibit in Dacton with both of their families. Apparently, they actually ditched the adults to explore the dark world on their own. She asks Lucas if he seriously forgot that incident. Lucas is at a loss for words since he only has some really faint memories. But honestly, there is no way he would remember something from before his soul took over this body. That is a problem. Seeing how he reacted to the situation, Mia is forced to ask if he holds a grudge because the engagement was suddenly called off. Lucas is stunned. You and I can tell Maya has been feeling like he was always avoiding her. Mia truly believes Lucas was deeply hurt by the whole breakup. Back then, she was way too young to really understand what calling off an engagement even meant. Mia tries to find the right words to explain herself, but she fails. Instead, she stands tall and tells Lucas that he is definitely not some incompetent fool. Mia lets him know he is the most incredible martial artist she knows. Right then, she finds the courage to ask Lucas to be her friend. Lucas is honestly impressed by how well she carries herself. He tells her straight up he never held a grudge. He agrees to be her friend, making Mia the happiest girl on the entire planet. While Julia and Iowa are devouring the best candy in town, Lucas and Maya are outside truly bonding. The other two return, only to find the pair holding hands like a couple. Maya and Lucas freak out, trying to explain it is not what it looks like, at all. But there is no way they are convincing anyone that something special is not going on between them. A bit later, they hit the shopping district, but while they are having fun, something weird happens. Julia's magic candy suddenly reacts to something interesting in the distance. The candy leads them to a dojo known as Five Saints Hall. Turns out, the master is a treasure collector. Here is the deal: if you clear all 5 trials, you get a magical treasure. Simple, right? Lucas reminds Julia they are here to relax, not challenge a dojo. But Iowa jumps in. This sounds way better than just eating all day. Mia agrees. She is actually really curious to see what is hidden inside that dojo. Since the ladies are all in, Lucas really does not have much of a choice. But just as they are stepping inside, all right, our crew is suddenly stopped by 2 massive gatekeepers who warn them that this dojo is no playground. Before the head guard even has time to blink, Lucas is already behind him, giving his shoulder a casual little tap. He unleashes a crushing aura that sends waves of pure terror through the man. Lucas calmly explains they heard about the treasure challenge, and that is exactly why they have shown up today. The gatekeeper is left shaking, completely overwhelmed by Lucas's intense and heavy fighting spirit. Meanwhile, Lucas is actually impressed that a lowly guard is already a level 4 martial artist. After giving the guy a small taste of his power, Lucas asks if they can finally head inside, and the guard practically trips over himself to open the doors. Iowa is stunned at how fast this guy's attitude flipped after just a few short words from Lucas. Stepping inside, they enter the Five Saints Hall and learn their first big test is going to be the Beast Trial. A creepy clown is running this show, and apparently he keeps a whole circus of deadly monsters. He tells the crew they are good to go if they can manage to clear his checkpoint. The guy summons his fire lion, a massive, terrifying beast made of literal living flames. He drops the magic chains, holding the monster back, and orders it to rip the group to shreds. The lion lunges forward, ready to tear them all limb from limb. But Lucas just stands there, not moving a single inch. Suddenly, the Joker realizes his beast has frozen up, but he has no idea why. See, Yuru's spirit inside Lucas has suppressed the beast so hard it is actually too paralyzed to move. The Joker rushes over to beat the lion back into action. But the panicked lion swats him away so hard he lands face down in the dirt. The beast bolts back to its cage just to get away from Lucas's aura. Lucas awkwardly asks the unconscious clown if this means they have officially passed the trial or what. Iowa is speechless. Lucas won without even lifting a finger, and she is left wondering what trick he pulled. As they head to the next gate, Iowa can't stop talking about how weird that terrified lion was, while Julia leans in to whisper to Lucas. She asks him if Yuru was the one who really saved the day there. Lucas gives her a subtle nod to confirm she is right, and soon after, they reach the wind corridor. There, they meet a mage who explains that the rules are actually quite simple. All they have to do is fire an arrow through moving rings to pop the balloon at the very top. Basically, this trial is meant to test their magic control, along with their ability to make split-second judgments. The mage points out that he is going to be the one personally managing the corridor's environment during the challenge to make things a lot more interesting. With the rules set, he asks which one of them is brave enough to take on the challenge. Julia steps forward, confidently saying she will be the one to handle this trial. The mage hands her the controls, amused by her high energy and fighting spirit. Julia takes over immediately, guiding the arrow through the rings with total, effortless grace. Even Maya is completely blown away by how skilled she actually is. But the mage quickly warns Julia that what she is seeing now is only the warm-up. He hits a button that drops fire cubes into the path, messing with the trajectory for some extra chaos. Julia doesn't even flinch, popping a candy in her mouth while she keeps guiding that arrow perfectly. But then, a water obstacle appears. slamming into the arrow and making it nearly impossible for Julia to keep it from crashing down. Right here. Julia knows she has to push past her limits, even though the mage tells her to just quit. Suddenly, she is dodging everything from scorching flames to sharp blasts of wind magic. Her playful smile fades, replaced by a look of cold, hard focus. She recalls Luca's mentioning her improved control, and if she ever feels like she's losing her grip, well, she should assume some outside force is messing with her flow. When she asked him how to handle a situation like that, he gave her a simple solution: just destroy the source of the interference. With that in mind, Julia lets fly a thunder-infused arrow that absolutely obliterates everything in its path. The mage is left speechless. Iwa realizes this is less of a trial and more of a full-on battle. This mage has no choice but to admit defeat and congratulates our team for passing the second checkpoint. As they move on, the mage gives them a fair warning about what lies ahead. He explains that brute force alone won't get them through every single challenge. Moments later, we arrive at the third checkpoint, which turns out to be an alchemy workshop. Honestly, this floor is all about precision and focus instead of just raw power. The head alchemist challenges them to a race to see who can brew a legendary magic potion the fastest today. She reveals that the task at hand is to recreate the legendary magic elixir, known far and wide as Trivia's Tears. They have 108 rare ingredients to work with, but the ratios are a mystery, and every single item is highly volatile. One tiny mistake, and boom, massive explosion. Julia is already clutching her head in pure frustration. Saying that with so many ingredients and zero instructions, it is basically impossible. Iowa agrees, calling the whole thing a complete game of luck for them. Lucas admits their specialty is fighting, so this isn't exactly their style. But then, Mia steps forward and offers to take the lead. This definitely catches the alchemist off guard. But she likes Mia's confidence. The trial begins, while the alchemist works with clinical precision. Mia shocks everyone by handling the ingredients with total elegance. Using her mana, she effortlessly organizes the ingredients while figuring out exactly how they should fit together. Actually, her speed and skill with the knife leave Lucas completely stunned. As she continues cooking, she notices a bitter smell and quickly adds a sweet ingredient to perfectly balance the flavor. She makes it look easy, and even Iowa is impressed by her technique. But when she reaches the most dangerous ingredient, the alchemist panics, screaming for Mia to be careful before she blows the whole room up. However, Maya stays perfectly calm and continues her work. And before they know it, the potion is finished, leaving the alchemist in total shock. In fact, the purity is so high that she asks if Mia studied under some legendary master alchemist. Maya just shakes her head, admitting this is her very first time making Trivia's Tears. And she isn't even sure how she actually did it, though she likes to think all her time spent in the kitchen helped. She explains that she just follows the sense of the ingredients to find the perfect balance, treating the whole thing just like she's cooking a meal for us. Mia admits that making the potion felt just like making a medicinal soup. Our alchemist cannot believe Mia just compared a legendary elixir to medicinal soup. Julia cheers her on, realizing why Mia's desserts are always so incredible. She mentions those cookies from last time were so delicious, they almost brought her to tears. Iowa praises her, telling her that her cooking talent is truly one of a kind. She even teases her within Lucas's earshot, saying whoever marries Mia will be the luckiest man alive. Maya almost passes out from blushing so hard when she hears this, quickly trying to claim that her cooking is just a hobby. But deep down, she wonders what Lucas really thinks of her. Lucas, being a total blockhead, does not even view her cooking as a potential marriage skill. Instead, he is just imagining having someone like her in the unit, to cook amazing food and boost morale during long deployments. Iowa hears his thoughts and tells him he is definitely the densest guy she has ever met. The alchemist concedes. She never expected to lose to a young girl's cooking after spending half her life perfecting her own mixing techniques. She hands the potion over to Mia, telling her that it belongs to her now. Mia feels hesitant to take such a valuable item. But the alchemist insists it is fine, since Mia is the one who actually created it. She tells her that when it truly matters, this potion will save her life one day. Lucas even steps in, telling her to take it as proof of her own incredible ability. Maya finally accepts the potion, and they move toward the next checkpoint, where a truly terrifying lady awaits the group. Reaching the location of the fourth trial, they are welcomed by a terrifying woman who explains that this fourth trial is nothing less than a crucible of mental strength. She informs the group that they are going to play a card game favored by the Empire's upper class, a deceptive game famously known as the King's Lie. On the surface, the rules of the game seem pretty straightforward. Each player draws a card, and the higher number wins, but there is a special catch with the lowest card. The assassin card can actually defeat the highest card, which is the king. You are allowed to use magic to alter your card's actual number. But the more you change it from the original value, the more mana you will consume. If your bluff is exposed, the original value of the card is used to decide the winner. Finally, if the number on a fake card matches the opponent's real card, the forged card loses. Simply put, this means this is a trial that tests how well you can see through lies and deceive your opponent. Lucas realizes this is not his specialty, and even Maya admits she is terrible at these high-pressure games. Julia cannot even remember the rules, so there is no way she is going to survive. Still, Iowa steps forward, saying it sounds fun because this is exactly the kind of thing the Miranda family excels at. Iowa points out that the fortune teller has a special magic circuit around her eyes, allowing her to use powerful eye magic. That lady is absolutely stunned that Iowa figured her out, feeling quite impressed by the caliber of challengers visiting her on this very day. Once Iowa is ready, the woman suggests they finally begin the ultimate test. The card game begins, and Iowa immediately draws the king card, which ranks much higher than what the lady pulled, which happens to be the archbishop. Julia assumes that they have already won the game. But Iowa isn't celebrating just yet. She knows this game isn't that simple. A faint, strange ripple in her magic flow warns her that something is off. Channeling her power, Iowa quickly realizes the lady's archbishop card is nothing but a fake. The lady is stunned. She never expected Iowa to sniff out a forged card so fast. Suddenly, the mysterious woman breaks into laughter, mocking Iowa for seeing through the disguise when she has already lost the match. Unfazed, Iowa laughs right back, revealing she was already 3 steps ahead of her. Her instincts were dead on. The lady had hidden a second layer of deception on that card. Iowa reveals her winning hand, and the lady's jaw drops as she sees her own assassin card was also a forgery. Panic sets in. She was certain she had erased every single trace of her magic. Iowa coolly reminds her that she isn't the only one who can hide their power. From the start, Iowa felt this move coming and prepared her counter for this exact moment. She never took her eyes off the lady's hands, ensuring she drew the perfect winning card. Finally, Iowa reveals her true hand. It is the real assassin card. According to the rules, if a forged card and the true card share the same rank, the fake loses, meaning Iowa is the absolute winner. Iowa admits the strategy was clever. Disguising it as an Archbishop 8 was a brilliant way to test her. It is the strongest card under a king, used purely to scout the enemy. If Iowa's card had actually turned out to be king, the lady's double-layered bluff with the assassin card would have secured her the victory. But that tactic only works on someone less observant. The lady made a fatal mistake today. She fundamentally lost because she made the mistake of underestimating Iowa. Defeated, the lady admits it was a masterpiece of a match with top-tier insight and perfect execution. A perfect range of deception, from the lowly assassin to the mighty king. The lady wonders why Iowa didn't just wait for the reveal, since she already knew the assassin was a fake from the beginning. As the proud heir of the Miranda family, Iowa refuses to let anyone else lead. She prefers to take the initiative and control her own destiny. Inside, Iowa breathes a sigh of relief. That gamble pushed her mental limits to the edge. The fortune teller predicts that with talent like hers, Iowa will surely leave a mark on history. Iowa simply nods, already knowing her own worth. The lady continues, revealing that Iowa's fate is now permanently woven with Luca's and his companions. She warns of a coming disaster, a great calamity that will soon shadow the entire continent. Only she and her friends will have the power to save the world. Iowa is stunned, demanding to know exactly what kind of prophecy this is. But the woman moves on, announcing it is finally time for the ultimate trial. This final challenge is led by the Hall Master, whose power far exceeds anything they've ever faced. Hearing this chilling prophecy, Lucas is deeply unsettled. It is clear the fortune teller isn't joking about the dark future ahead. As they head toward the next gate, Julia is buzzing with excitement, thinking the idea of saving the world is pretty cool. Her brother stays grounded, insisting they focus on claiming their treasure before anything else. They reach the final checkpoint and find a monster of a man punching iron balls into walls. Even Lucas feels a chill of terror. The killing intent in the air is suffocating. This guy is so incredibly overwhelming that you have to wonder if he is even human. Even so, our lead is actually looking forward to seeing just how much fun this gets. Look at this blonde, a totally jacked beast of a man. He flexes with heavy weights in one hand, claiming he has been waiting for their arrival. He is actually impressed they made it this far, proving they aren't just pampered brats relying on family status. The big guy drops the weights so he can finally explain the rules of this game. He gives them a choice. They are all free to attack him at once. If they can force him to take just one single step back, they win. But if they fail, it is his turn next, and they will have to block his attack no matter what. From there, they will trade blows until one of them is finally left face down on the floor. The girls are already starting to freak out because they can't imagine trying to block a strike coming from those massive, tree-trunk arms. He tells them not to hold back, and if they are afraid to die, they should just leave. Right then, Lucas steps forward, asking the man to let him take this challenge alone. Lucas is dying to see what this guy is made of. His aura is even stronger than Siglet's. Julia panics immediately, begging Lucas to just go home, since this treasure really isn't worth their lives. Maya offers to fight beside him, but Lucas tells them to stand back. This is a trial strictly for martial artists. Plus, he is eager to test the limits of his own strength. The man, Barzan, laughs out loud. Since this is man-to-man, he won't be holding back. Barzan warns Lucas that he won't be walking away with just a few broken bones. He needs to know if he's ready. Suddenly, Barzan's familiar, an iron bird, appears out of nowhere. It screams at him to use magic gloves since he's still paying for last time's repairs. Barzan reluctantly agrees and snatches the pair of gloves right off the wall. He tosses a pair over to Lucas, too, explaining that these gloves generate a powerful barrier. No matter how wild things get, the surroundings won't be reduced to rubble. As soon as they put them on, a shimmering barrier forms around them. And just like that, Lucas charges straight for Barzan. He lands a punch on Barzan's chest, but he's shocked. There isn't even a flicker of a reaction. Barzan admits his form is good, but he has still got a long way to go. Now Barzan prepares to strike back, and Lucas quickly throws up his guard. Lucas knows a heavy hit is coming, but his guard is useless. He's sent flying into the distance. He is coughing up blood, but Barzan doesn't give a damn. He tells the kid it is already way too late to think about surrendering. Lucas spots a sword nearby and grabs it, imbuing the blade with aura before lunging at Barzan. He hits Barzan with all the strength he can muster. But Barzan just breathes deep, exhaling a massive shockwave that sends Lucas crashing into the wall. Still, Barzan notices a small cut. He actually gives the kid credit for that. But he warns him this level of damage isn't nearly enough to win. Lucas shouts that he's just getting started, dashing forward while creating a swarm of clones. Using the clones to pin Barzan down, Lucas goes in for one final, devastating punch. But Barzan breaks free instantly, unleashing a terrifying aura that blows Lucas completely away. Barzan praises Lucas again. He admits the kid has the brains and the guts to keep switching up his strategy. But against raw, overwhelming power, all those clever little tricks, they mean nothing. Barzan lunges forward, ready to end this, shouting that it is finally time to finish the fight. Lucas shuts his eyes tight in fear. But right at his lowest point, a memory flashes from the 6th floor of Allen Tower. He remembers the martial god, and that legendary technique infused into every single one of his strikes. Lucas focuses hard. He steadies his heart and clears his mind, somehow mimicking that same divine attack the martial god once used. He meets Barzan's punch head-on. Barzan is stunned. He never saw a move like this coming. Lucas shatters his guard in an instant. He prepares to bury another punch into the man's chest. But he stops short. Seeing him freeze like that, Julia panics, thinking her brother just lost the entire match. Barzan exhales, staring at him. He asks if Lucas is a disciple of someone named Atani. Lucas. He says no, making Barzan wonder why he held back. If he'd gone all out, he would have easily crushed a few ribs. Lucas just shrugs it off. It was his first time trying it. If he accidentally killed Barzan, he'd never get that treasure. Barzan laughs and slaps his back, officially admitting defeat to the young warrior. Lucas drops in exhaustion. Mia runs over with Trivia's tears to heal him up right away. But he refuses. No way he is wasting something that valuable on some bruises. Suddenly, Barzan tosses him a pill, telling him to use it for his wounds instead. Lucas swallows it, and the pain vanishes instantly. He realizes this potion feels just like the elixirs he usually crafts himself. He reminds Barzan that they beat all 5 trials, so it's time to pay up. Barzan starts rambling about random stuff instead of actually showing them the loot. His familiar finally snaps. It screams at the old man to stop being stingy and hand over the goods already. Barzan acts all offended, claiming he was going to give it up anyway. Right. He hands Lucas a small, cute bunny toy and tells them to add magic. Julia pours some energy into it, and the little thing actually starts hopping around. She tosses it up, grinning ear to ear because it is just so adorable. But Lucas is definitely not amused. 5 deadly trials for a stuffed animal? Unbelievable. Honestly, he feels like they just got totally scammed. Barzan pats him, promising that this isn't just some ordinary magic trinket. Once the kid grows up, he'll realize just how useful that bunny really is. He also warns Lucas to save that martial god move for life-or-death situations only, because using it carelessly will lead to major trouble. Lucas nods, then gets curious and asks if Barzan actually knows Atani. Barzan claims he doesn't know him well. But they did fight beastmen side by side on a battlefield long ago. He suggests they move out before the sun goes down completely. Everyone agrees that Julia should keep the bunny. It honestly fits her perfectly. Still, Lucas can't help but wonder why that technique is so dangerous to use. Wait! A massive commotion erupts nearby, and the group rushes over to see the chaos. Looks like a brawl is breaking out in the black market, so they decide to head over and check it out. Turns out Jeremy is right in the thick of it, fighting a dealer who supposedly ripped him off. But it is a total beatdown. The dealer just laughs, claiming the spell he sold is genuine ancient magic. He mocks Jeremy ruthlessly, saying it is his own fault for being too weak to learn it. Then, the dealer turns to leave. Jeremy tries to fire off a desperate attack from behind. But the guy blocks it effortlessly, sending Jeremy flying straight into a nearby brick wall. The dude calls him a joke, saying someone with such trash magic talent never stood a single chance. He then orders his thugs to finish the boy off. But they get absolutely roasted by lightning. Suddenly, Lucas and Julia step onto the scene to help. Jeremy looks like he wants to disappear. He is dying of embarrassment that his siblings saw him like this. Julia, though, is just happy to help. After all, her mother specifically told her to keep an eye on Jeremy. Just as things are escalating, a local patrol squad rolls up on the scene, demanding to know what all this chaos is about. The dealer doesn't skip a beat and slips the squad captain a fat bribe right then and there. He lies through his teeth, claiming Lucas and his group were just shoplifters causing trouble. The captain pockets the cash and flips the script, immediately pinning all the blame on the kids. Iowa tries to shut him down, mentioning she is a member of the powerful Miranda family. But the captain is way too arrogant. He says he doesn't care because in this district, he is the law. Things are about to get much worse when a voice booms through the street, ordering every single person there to stop. The captain's face goes pale with fear. He knows exactly who that voice belongs to. It is Cyan, Iowa's father, and he is not alone. Lucas's mother is standing right there beside him. Cyan asks the captain if he is actually brave enough to think he could arrest children of the Mirandas. He adds that it looks like the patrol squad needs a cleaning because they have become totally rotten. Both the dealer and the corrupt captain are dragged away from the scene, screaming and begging for mercy as they are hauled off. Iowa walks to her father, asking why he hasn't wiped this place out if it's such a crime nest. He just taps her shoulder, telling her that the slums have their own rules. They have tried all sorts of ways to stop the corruption for a long time. But it is basically an endless game of whack, a mole. Catherine chimed in, telling Iowa not to stress over adult business. As long as the parents are around, the kids stay safe. Julia rushes over to give her mom a hug. And she praises her, saying that lightning spell from earlier was incredible. Truly what you'd expect from a child of the Ryan family. Julia blushes while getting head pats, but then she suddenly remembers her poor brother Jeremy. Catherine asks him if he is hurt anywhere, but he just snaps back that he is perfectly fine. She tries to check on him again, but Jeremy just yells that he said he is okay. Iowa jumps in, telling Jeremy it looks like he is actually sick in the head or something. Jeremy claims it was just a sneak attack, but Iowa isn't buying any of those excuses. She reminds him he is an Allen Magic School student, yet he lost to some random low-tier dealer. To make it worse, he had to be saved by little Julia. Now that's just embarrassing. Jeremy explodes, screaming about a sneak attack, but our main character shuts him down hard. He calls him out for being an idiot, a real forbidden spellbook. In a dump like this, never. Iowa chimes in, saying even a toddler would have spotted that fake from a mile away. Cyan is forced to step in, telling Iowa to dial back the attitude and just chill. Catherine tries to be kind, offering to heal Jeremy's wounds. He rejects it instantly and bolts. As he flees, he can practically feel their judgmental eyes on his back. While he disappears into the night, Catherine tries to call out, but her brother stops her. Some guys just need to sulk alone. Then comes the suggestion for a feast. They cleared the 5 saints' trials, and that deserves a celebration. Leaving that dark alley behind, Iowa feels a strange chill in the distance. Something is off, but she cannot place it yet. Deep in the woods, Jeremy is losing his mind. Suddenly, a dark shadow looms behind him, whispering, "Pitiful child." He spins around, totally shocked, demanding to know who's lurking there in the shadows. The shadow reveals a secret. His own mother sent her to deliver a special little gift. The darkness shifts and molds itself into a human shape. It is the one and only Jelsida. Apparently, Jessica sought her out personally. She could not stand seeing her son struggle at school anymore. She pulls out a mysterious pendant, promising him that with this power, he will finally become strong enough to reclaim every ounce of dignity he ever lost. Flashback time, Jessica was spiraling after Lucas saved her kid. Then, Jelsida just appeared in her room, offering her a deal to grant her deepest, darkest wish. She reveals a creepy green snake, promising Jessica that this creature would give Jeremy the power he truly craves. She seals the snake into a pendant. Jeremy won't just be strong, he'll be an immovable wall for Lucas. Back to the present, and Jelsida hands that exact cursed pendant over. She whispers that once he puts it on, nobody will ever dare mock him again. He grabs it, fueled by pure spite. Finally, he can crush Lucas and earn Julia's respect. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Greg is meeting that shady dealer again. He is after a cursed item known as the slow snail. His plan: sabotage the martial art students and turn them all into useless weaklings. He is absolutely loving this. He cannot wait to witness the sheer look of despair on Seagull's face when the trap springs. Fast forward a few days later. The freshmen gathered around the bulletin board to check their latest rankings. To everyone's shock, the martial arts class is actually leading. The mages are trailing behind by 2 full stars. Naturally, the mage students are already starting to lose their minds. Some are even getting angry letters from home, warning them not to lose to those martial artists. To make things even more intense, the annual Goddess Memorial Festival is coming to Allen Academy. 2 rival schools, Holy and Kyoto, are headed their way for the big event. The mages are panicking. If the other schools find out they are being outperformed by mere fighters, the humiliation will be eternal. These elite students are whispering about the incoming humiliation when Greg suddenly walks into the room, giving them a smug look and assuring them they have absolutely nothing to fear. Let those martial arts kids enjoy their little moment in the sun while they still can. Because Seagull is obsessed with making sure Lucas is completely and utterly erased. He joined just to ruin their fun. We are about to see just how petty this guy can get. Cut to the martial arts department, where the students are absolutely going at it like wild animals. They are training like total beasts, holding absolutely nothing back. It is exactly what they need to evolve. The best part, no one is forcing them. These guys actually stay late after school every single day just to grind. Teshi is tidying the office when she spots that weird snail material, but she just brushes it off. She goes ahead and drops it into the lost and found, assuming some student just dropped it by accident. Finally, the Goddess Memorial arrives. Our martial arts crew gets stuck with the job of being the welcoming committee. They have been stuck standing at the entrance for over 30 minutes. Lucas tells everyone to chill, because the real party is finally about to start. Principal Jerica takes center, stage to welcome guests, but the air suddenly turns ice cold out of nowhere. Boom, a massive ice dragon appears above them, with Kyoto Magic School star freshman, Diane, riding on top. Just as he is about to steal the show, a fire phoenix blazes onto the scene, rivaling that frost dragon. Turns out that Holy Magic School top freshman, Aurora, is the one behind the flames. Things just got seriously heated. Everyone watches in awe as the 2 legends in the making flex their powers. Realizing that Aurora is trying to outshine him in front of the crowd, Diane makes his dragon grow even larger to crush that fire phoenix. But Aurora is not backing down. She is about to show him her true power. They clash head-on, painting the sky with an incredible display of fire and ice for everyone. Lucas finally gets why people call them geniuses, but while those 2 are busy playing around and showing off, a bolt of lightning suddenly rips through the sky, shattering their defenses. It is Julia making her grand entrance. Diane and Aurora both spin around to see the newcomer, and Julia summons a lightning bird that starts drenching them both in water. With a huge smirk on her face, Julia reminds them that they definitely should not be ignoring her today. Cyan is absolutely stunned. You and I did not expect to see a show this legendary before the main event. Principal Silwyn Taryn from the Holy School is totally on board. Diane finally touches down, looking annoyed as he gives Julia a side eye for jumping into their spotlight. But a sudden silent spell shuts him up instantly. When he looks up, he sees his own principal, Adecus Rosso, glaring at him. He is basically telling the kid to zip it. Then, beautiful golden feathers start drifting down from the sky, lighting up everything. Everyone watching is completely mesmerized by it. Suddenly, every eye in the crowd turns to see the source. It is a stunning, purple-haired woman floating down from the heavens. Lucas has no idea who she is because of the mask she is wearing. But Aurora and Diane definitely do. They know exactly who she is and are desperate for her to notice them. They are ready to put on a real show. As she lands, even Miranda's own father bows down in respect. Golden feathers swirl around as she greets the crowd with an air of absolute elegance. She promises everyone that this festival is going to be unforgettable. Right then, the school principal steps up. The announcement goes out. Students head to the banquet hall while the audience is cleared from the arena. Kai points out something strange. Miranda's father is actually bowing low to that mysterious masked lady. This woman is clearly a massive big shot, likely an elite arriving from the capital. Lucas doesn't care about her rank though. He's more interested in her specific magic element. Basically, he is just hyped to see what kind of power will explode at this festival. Inside the cafeteria, the Allen Academy kids quickly realize just how arrogant this guy Dayan really is. Even his own school students won't go near him, but Aurora, on the other hand, is way more approachable. Aurora eventually walks up to a couple of students, telling them she wants to befriend Julia. Their mood brightens, but right as they are about to give her an answer, their expressions go completely blank, and they just suddenly walk away. Aurora is stunned. It felt like their minds were being puppeted by someone else. Still, she's determined to dig up every secret she can possibly find about Julia. Turns out, Iwa was the culprit, using her mental magic to shut them up before they could spill anything to Aurora. Silwyn immediately senses Iwa's mental interference, admitting that her technique is actually quite impressive. But she's shocked such high-tier talent is being used just to stop a few rumors. Jerrica claims this pre-ceremony is for relaxing, but the vibe, it's intense. Looking around, it's clear the mental warfare has already begun before the first fight. Adakis boldly bets that Kyoto is going to take the championship home once again. But Silwyn snaps back, reminding him they almost stole that victory last year. While those two are busy bickering, Jerrica stays quiet since Allen Academy ended up in dead last place last time. Silwyn then asks Jerrica about that incident back in the Magical Beast mountain range. She wants to know the exact location for this year's final showdown, to let the students really go all out. The finals are usually held in a forest far from civilization. The chosen forest is prepared with massive magic circles to ward off beasts, so everything runs smoothly. Jerrica confirms the issue is resolved, and the Imperial Army has officially finished preparing the entire battle zone. He confirms that the finals will take place in the illusory forest, exactly as they originally planned. Now, all that's left is drawing the lots for the preliminary matches. The other principals are relieved, raising a toast to the success of the upcoming tournament. The next day arrives, preliminaries are here, and the rules are finally set. Each school gets 10 participants for these opening rounds. Except for Kyoto Magic School, they get 11 since they are the reigning champions. But check this out, the martial arts students are suddenly looking completely exhausted. They're practically falling asleep on their feet, fighting just to keep their eyes open. Lucas wonders why everyone is so sleepy. But he doesn't think too much about it. The first match is announced, Diane from Kyoto versus Derek from Allen. Kai thinks poor Derek is totally doomed because his terrible luck put him against Diane right away. However, Lucas thinks Derek might actually have a chance, since his fire magic is the direct opposite of what Diane uses. The fight kicks off, and Derek charges in without holding anything back. But Diane doesn't even flinch, raising a massive ice wall that stops Derek dead in his tracks. The flame flickers out in a heartbeat, and before he can even blink, Den drops him with one single, crushing blow. With that, Kyoto secures the first preliminary win, while mocking the total lack of talent at Allen Academy. As Lucas watches Diane show off that kind of power, he knows Julia doesn't stand a chance. Next up, Aurora from Holy versus Iwa from Allen. Iwa isn't backing down though, looking totally confident as she prepares to show the world her true strength. The Holy Academy crowd goes wild, screaming for Aurora to take Iwa down, causing her to blush, even as she promises them a total victory. Once Aurora releases her flames, Iwa feels the terrifying weight of that magical power. But she's not shaking. If anything, she's pumped to take Aurora down and prove her worth. Iwa taunts her rival, telling her to quit the flashy show and just fight. Hearing this, Aurora just gives a casual wave of her hand, unleashing so much fire that Iwa is forced to throw up a barrier for protection. Aurora is actually impressed, seeing Iwa forge her mental strength into a physical shield. This is getting fun. She lets out another massive blast, turning the whole stage into an oven. Iwa is stuck on defense while Aurora takes to the sky, mocking her from above the flames. She laughs, asking if Iwa is only capable of blocking and too weak to strike back. Another fire blast slams into Iowa, forcing a scream of pure agony from her throat. With the arena swallowed by an inferno. Aurora thinks it's game over, but Iowa has a little surprise for her. Her eyes go cold as ice, telling Aurora that she's the one heading for a loss. Suddenly, a brutal mental assault hits Aurora, leaving her shrieking in pain. She stares at Iowa in disbelief, wondering how she's being reached, but I continues cranking up the intensity of the mental torture. She tells Aurora there is no escaping this nightmare she's crafted. I chokes Aurora, moving in to finish off the job. But then Aurora smiles. She was just messing around the whole time. She shatters the mental prison and fires back with a heat that dwarfs everything before. Iwa screams, unable to fathom how Aurora broke out of her perfect illusion domain. Iwa is slammed into the dirt, but Lucas sees the whole thing. He can tell something about this win was strange. Initially, it looked like Aurora was totally lost to the magic before she suddenly flipped the script. Aurora mocks her fallen foe, saying she only played along because Iowa is so full of herself. Aurora admits that her magic might have worked if she hadn't already seen it during the pre-festival. That is when the realization hits. Aurora was scouting Iowa the entire time. The match is called, and Aurora walks away as the official winner. Afterward, Derrick helps a battered Iowa away from the fighting stage. Confused as to how anyone could break that mental magic, he wonders if Aurora has hidden powers. But Iowa says it's impossible. You only get one blessing from a single god. Alright, so in this world, nobody can use more than one type of magic. But Julia is warned that Aurora is definitely hiding something. She needs to be careful. Meanwhile, Lucas realizes something crucial about the mind. Training your mind with martial arts changes everything. It builds a natural wall against mental magic. That is exactly how Julia resisted Iowa's sneaky attack before. Now Lucas is left wondering, does Aurora know martial arts too? Right then, Lucas spots something terrifying. His fellow students are completely drained of energy, and it is not natural. Greg is lurking nearby, wearing a twisted smile. His plan is already in motion. If this continues, these students will lose every ounce of their strength before they eventually drop dead. Fast forward, and it is time for the fifth match. It is Julia versus Tegan from Kyoto Academy. Julia strikes first with lightning, but Tegan is ready, raising a massive earth shield to block it. He knows one direct hit would be the end for him. His only hope is to avoid a head-on collision with Julia's devastating power. He hides behind a massive rock wall. Julia tries to blast through it with pure lightning. But the moment she breaks through, she realizes Tegan has vanished underground. While she is searching, a petrification spell hits her, making her movements heavy and slow. From beneath the dirt, Tegan can feel that his trap has finally snapped. He thinks he has got this one, assuming Julia is just another rookie without combat experience. He keeps. He hammers her with rocks, lifting the ground she stands on before striking from all sides. Julia is pinned by heavy stones and even loses her staff. The students are panicking. If Julia goes down now, this would be their third straight defeat, a total disaster for the reputation of the academy. Suddenly, they notice something weird. Julia is smiling. High above, a massive sphere of crackling lightning begins to gather in the clouds. Tegan is losing it. There is no way she should be able to cast magic now. Julia does not care. That giant orb of lightning comes crashing down with the force of a god. The lightning fries him so badly that he is literally crying for his mother. The impact blasts him back to the surface, but he is done. His strength is completely gone. As Tegan lies there defeated, Julia looks down at him coldly. She reveals that she was charging her magic before he even hid. Tegan is stunned. She predicted his every move before the fight even started. That is why she did not even dodge. With his strategy exposed, Tegan has no choice but to tap out. Julia is officially the winner of the fifth match. With that, the matches for today are finally over. Now, you and I can see the students of Allen Academy finally have hope. Still, some worry that Aurora and Diane are stronger, believing fire and water naturally beat out lightning magic. Amidst the celebration, Julia gets a secret, coded message from her own brother. That night, she heads deep into the mountains to meet him. Why call her out now? She wonders if he is going to congratulate her on her big win. After all, she did amazing. But instead, Lucas looks at her with a dead serious face. Lucas asks her straight up, does she actually want to win the finals? Julia's answer is simple, she is here to take the crown. Lucas pats her head, a sweet answer, but reality is about to hit hard. He drops a truth bomb. With her current strength, facing Aurora or Den is a death sentence. She has zero chance of winning. Fact is, those two are in a completely different league when it comes to raw magic. But Den, he is trouble. The guy is a fortress with insane magic resistance. Most spells won't even scratch him. That kind of ironclad defense only comes from surviving 1,000 real-life battles. Since Julia relies on lightning magic, she is basically screwed. Against a tank like Dean, she won't even be able to singe his hair. Julia asks if there is a secret way to win. Lucas says yes, but it is going to be absolute hell. Is she ready? She doesn't hesitate. She will do whatever it takes, no matter how brutal, as long as she comes out on top. With her resolve locked in, Lucas smirks. It is time to stop playing and start the real training. Boom! Yuru lunges from the shadows, slamming Julia straight into the dirt. Before she can even breathe, a massive ice wall smashes into her. She looks up, gasping, to find Lucas riding on top of Yuru. He tells her the plan. He is dragging her through a frozen wasteland to forge her into something stronger. And he makes one thing very clear, he is not holding back. Suddenly, massive shards of ice rain down, forcing Julia into a desperate run for her life. Terrified, she screams out, how is he even using magic when he is not a mage? Lucas breaks it down. It is all thanks to his contract with Yuru. See, when you sign a subordination contract with a high-ranking magical beast like this, you can tap into their elemental power, as long as you are physically touching the beast. Yuru is a level 6 monster, a master of both scorching fire and freezing ice. Combine that with his own monstrous power. Her brother's strength is now off-scale. Before Julia can even blink, Lucas is absolutely stomping her into the ground. Even Yuru starts feeling bad, begging him to go easy. But Lucas, he claims he is being gentle. He barks at her to build up her ice resistance fast. If she doesn't adapt now, she is literally going to freeze to death. Julia snaps, power erupting. She shouts that she is a genius for a reason, and she is about to show him exactly why he shouldn't underestimate her. With a surge of energy, she shatters the ice prison Lucas locked her in. But she celebrates way too early. A massive, terrifying ice maze rises from the ground, swallowing her whole. She screams in agony, but Lucas isn't listening. He is just getting started. He tells her straight, find the exit or die in the cold. It is that simple. The second she claws her way out, Lucas is already standing there, waiting. Another heavy hit sends her flying, forcing her to burn through every drop of mana. It turns into a brutal back and forth between a desperate girl and a beast. Finally, Yuru runs dry. Julia collapses, thanking the gods it is over. She thinks she has survived the worst of it. Wrong. Lucas shoves recovery pills down both their throats. He smiles coldly. That was just the warm-up. The real training hasn't even started. Now Yuru is the one crying for mercy, right alongside a completely broken Julia. Hours later, Iowa wakes up and realizes Julia's bed is empty. Where did she go? She is still wondering when Julia stumbles into the lobby, looking like she just walked through a meat grinder. Battered is an understatement. She can barely stand. She's barely staying upright, using her staff like a makeshift walking stick. Suddenly, she collapses. Iowa rushes over in a panic, demanding to know who beat her up like this. With a faint voice, Julia insists it is fine. She was just training for the big finals. Iowa carries her into the room, and Julia reveals her brother guaranteed. She now has 200% ice resistance. Iowa cannot believe Lucas would push her this hard. knowing the final match is literally tomorrow morning. Julia just smiles. If she survived that hell, it means she is definitely going to crush the competition. Honestly, she is ready to make her opponent suffer every single ounce of pain she just went through. Iowa is officially terrified. She looks like a total battle junkie while saying that. The next day, the Goddess Memorial Festival Grand Finals have finally arrived. Holy Academy currently has 2 points, and Kyoto Academy also has 2 points. Allen Academy has 1 point. Basically, each school sends a single representative into the final. This final happens in a special domain where they can cast massive spells without any worry. Once the principal finishes the setup, he signals the representatives to step into the magic circle and enter the arena. Dayan steps forward first. He boasts about winning with nothing but sheer, overwhelming power. Aurora cannot stand how arrogant he is, which only makes her more fired up to fight him. Meanwhile, Julia looks like she is still half asleep and totally out of it. The crowd assumes she has already given up, thinking she is just waiting for the inevitable loss. Even the martial arts students think she is doomed, earning them a swift, painful smack from Lucas. There is a reason. Lucas and Yuru needed half a day in medicinal baths just to recover from that insane, brutal training. Julia chugged a healing potion and basically slept through the entire day just to stay alive. But his friends have no idea. Seeing them act so weird, Lucas decides to hand out some powerful tonic pills for strength. Iowa is still worried. Julia slept the whole day, so is she actually ready to fight? Julia gives her a reassuring nod, and Iowa hands over her lucky bunny before the match starts. Julia thanks her for the plushie, admitting she actually forgot it in her room when she left for that mountain training. She lets it slip before realizing she was supposed to keep that secret training a total mystery. Iowa tries to dig for more info, but it is no use. Lucas then gives the group tonic pills. Their strength returns, and they start cheering loudly for Julia. Julia thanks them and prepares to step into the battle zone for the final. But Iowa is left wondering exactly what Lucas did to her. Iowa pats her head, telling her it is okay if she loses, she is already exceptional. But Julia isn't having it. She looks her friend in the eye and promises a total victory. As soon as she enters the arena, she is warped to a random location, just like the other representatives in this domain. She remembers Lucas's advice: hide first, let the others fight, and conserve every bit of her strength. Julia decides to follow the plan exactly. Suddenly, Aurora spots her hiding right behind a nearby tree. Julia panics when it happens, and the spectators are already convinced a huge battle is about to start, while everyone else is worried that a massive fight is about to start. Lucas stays cool, like he is 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Soon, Aurora retreats, confused. She was positive she heard someone lurking behind that tree, but there is absolutely no one there. Suddenly, a blast of ice erupts in the distance, instantly giving away Dean's position. She is not even shocked. Only a guy like Den would be bold enough to announce his location. Aurora rushes toward his direction, while Julia finally steps out from her hiding spot. The crowd is speechless as Julia seemingly manifests out of thin air. They are left questioning exactly what kind of high-level magic she just pulled off. Lucas just chuckles to himself. He already knows her secret since he witnessed it during their intense training. Julia once got so frustrated she actually wished she could just vanish. From that raw emotion, she managed to manifest a spell that completely masks her presence. Still, that trick never worked on Lucas, though. He would always find her and drag her back. Lucas is satisfied. Everything is going perfectly now that Aurora is set to face Dien first. The winner gets to take on Julia next. An intense clash begins, though they are both still thrown off by Julia's stealthy tactics. Dien boldly tells Aurora he was actually hoping for a 2-on-1 fight. He really wanted to crush them both simultaneously. Regardless, he decides to end this quickly. The two fighters charge head-on, lunging at each other with absolutely massive force. That is when the crowd realizes these two were holding back during the preliminaries. They see that Dayan can fight up close just like a master martial artist. He leaves zero openings for his opponent to exploit. Essentially, Den chose magic because he saw way more potential for growth there. But he masters both disciplines just to ensure he becomes the absolute strongest. Lucas is genuinely impressed by Den's approach to gaining power. He chases strength without being picky. That is exactly the right mindset. Lucas wishes more people were like Den, so martial arts would finally get some respect. Kai asks Lucas who he thinks is actually going to win this match. Lucas admits that based on raw power, Den takes it, but then Iowa suddenly appears. She claims his perception is off because she believes Aurora is still hiding a massive trump card. Kai nearly has a heart attack when Iowa just pops up out of the blue. Moments later, the fight ends with Den overwhelming Aurora and taking a decisive victory. Kai mocks Iowa for being wrong. Right on cue, Julia makes her entrance just as planned. Julia asks Den if he really defeated Aurora that easily. Den bragged that his ice magic is easily the strongest in the entire world. There is no way he is losing this festival. He then launches a devastatingly powerful attack. He tries to end it in one hit, but Julia raises a lightning shield to block. She bolts backward at high speed, trying to minimize the force of Den's massive blast. Before she can react, Den teleports behind her, unleashing an icy strike that leaves Julia struggling to recover. But she is not really scared. Compared to the hellish training she did with Lucas, Diane feels slow. Diane is furious that Julia is doing nothing but running away from him. Then, out of nowhere, magic circles manifest all around her. A massive ice tower erupts from the ground with Diane standing triumphantly at the top. Diane taunts Julia, admitting he specifically chose this location because of the high groundwater levels. The ring on his finger erupts in a blinding glow. He is finally showing her what the Kyoto Academy top student can really do. A massive spear of ice hurtles straight toward Julia's direction. And Diane is absolutely convinced this is the end. But Julia holds her ground. She summons lightning to block the impact, though the strain is visible. Even Diane is stunned. He has to admit she's moving far faster now than she ever did in the prelims. After barely diverting the path of the attack, Julia taunts Dean by flicking her tongue at him. Julia then tries to put some distance between herself and Diane. But the entire area is now completely covered in thick ice. Out of nowhere, another surprise attack slams into her. She barely blocks it in time to avoid any major damage. But Dean's attacks are so overwhelming that she finds herself blocking ice from every single direction. Den is in total control now. Confidently, he tells a struggling Julia that he is about to freeze her soul. Julia is knocked down. The spectators start panicking, but Lucas just watches with a calm expression. He knows that Dean is incredibly powerful. That is why he secretly boosted Julia's ice resistance to 200%. He is certain that no matter how hard Diane hits, his freezing magic won't stop her counterattacks. Diane is genuinely confused why his sub-zero attacks are not getting to her. It's clear she came into this battle prepared for anything. Not that he cares. Honestly, her stubbornness just makes this whole game even more fun for him. He keeps mocking Julia, saying he loves watching a weak girl suffer and struggle all by herself. With a wave of his hand, Diane transforms the entire arena into a desolate frozen wasteland. To make things worse, Den unleashes ice golems, yet Julia's mental focus remains sharp and unbroken. She unleashes a massive bolt of lightning, aiming it directly at the tower to shatter the structures and the surrounding golems. Even Diane is forced to run to stay safe, and he commends her for putting up a decent fight. But all her hard work seems useless as those golems begin to pull themselves back together. Julia refuses to quit. She creates lightning spheres to keep those monsters at bay while breaking them down. However, this battle is draining Julia's strength. Kai can't believe how shamelessly Den is using those ice golems. Lucas explains that this was exactly why Julia stayed hidden until Diane had fought Aurora. She wanted him to drain his mana. Hearing that, Kai realizes that Lucas is hinting that Julia still has a real shot at winning. Still, Iwa looks on with worry. From her perspective, it seems like Julia has zero chance left. The ice has completely taken over, and Julia is being bombarded by the freezing cold from every side. Then, Julia notices that the ice golems are regenerating much more slowly now. She seizes the moment to taunt Diane, asking if he is finally running out of magic power. Diane admits she's stronger than expected, but he's not done yet. But he promises her it won't matter. In his mind, she is still destined to be crushed no matter what. Den drops back to the ground, concentrating all his remaining energy for one final, finishing strike. Diane then creates a freezing zone to drain her last bits of strength, assuring her there is no escape. Den keeps mocking her. He sneers that all her hard work is about to be totally worthless. He's just dying to see that look of pure despair on her face. Those ice golems start swarming, but Julia dodges easily. Den is definitely losing his steam. She can tell his mana tank is already running on empty. Yet he is still desperately forcing himself to keep that freezing field alive. Julia strikes back. A massive bolt of lightning hammers right into Diane's main golem. Diane stands his ground, totally smug. He's convinced his ice can block anything Julia throws. Julia gives him a reality check. Ice only blocks lightning if the spark isn't strong enough to pierce. But if that lightning is packing real power, even ice will shatter into pieces. She proves it right then and there. A massive surge of electricity swallows the entire arena. Dean feels the danger. It is absolutely overwhelming. He knows he's gotta move. If that ice armor shatters now, the lightning is going to fry him. Suddenly, he spots a small gap and lunges straight for Julia. But out of nowhere, a lightning sphere blocks his path. Julia tells him there's no escape from her electromagnetic trap. Inside this field, her lightning magic is way stronger. Julia lets it rip. Pure electricity surges through Diane's body, and his scream echoes across the whole arena. The crowd, they are absolutely stunned. This does not look like a battle between two first-year students at all. One of Jeremy's buddies even asks if this is the same crazy lightning Julia usually hits him with. Jeremy, he's way too shocked to even give an answer. Back in the pit, Dean hits the floor. He's completely spent and out of breath. Julia can't help but smile. She actually pulled off the win. She heads over to Diane, checking to see if he's still in one piece. All Diane can think about is how humiliating it'll be to tell his sister he took a loss. But knowing his sister's temper as well as he does, he knows she won't accept anything but a win. He has to finish this no matter what. Even if it kills him. See, in this arena, every single injury reflects on your real body. Julia is shocked. How is Den still awake after taking a direct hit from her full power? Then, Julia feels ice creeping up her legs. Before she can react, Diane is standing right back up. Den looks like a different person. He tells her he's actually built up a resistance to her sparks. His eyes glow a faint red as he suddenly charges right at her. He screams that he's no weakling who will be stopped by some tiny little lightning bolts. Julia tries to back off, but Dean is already right behind her. He's too fast. She barely manages to dodge his swing at the very last possible second. Diane is losing his mind to his own power. His whole body is starting to shift. He growls at Julia that his next strike is going to end this fight for good. Julia is struggling now. Den's raw strength has become way too overwhelming to handle. She's wondering where this power came from. The guy was totally out of mana just a second ago. Diane keeps rushing her down like a beast, even though his entire body is covered in nasty lightning burns. Julia grits her teeth. The cold from his new attacks is biting way harder than before. She's starting to panic. How the hell is she supposed to take this guy down now? He looks terrifyingly strong, but Julia knows he has to be hitting his absolute limit very soon. Julia isn't worried at all. You see, she knows Lucas has never misjudged an enemy's power level. Because of that, Julia braces herself, putting everything she has into this to avoid getting overwhelmed. Diane charges toward her, but she stands firm while charging up a lightning attack. Dayan gets close enough to launch an ice strike that she partially repels. And before he even realizes it, Julia's staff slams hard into his cheek, sending a lethal lightning strike directly into his body. She explains that what she just hit him with was a condensed strike packed with all of her lightning. This attack is 10 times stronger than anything she has ever used so far. With half her face covered in ice, she admits he is actually incredibly strong. But she guarantees him that this time, she'll be the one taking the win. Dayan tries to talk back, but it's already too late. He's hit with so much raw lightning power that his energy is completely depleted, and he crashes to his knees in total exhaustion. Julia finally smiles. It's finally over. She knows she would have stood zero chance if she hadn't trained so hard with Lucas. Suddenly, a stray fire spell blasts Dayan, knocking him flat on the ground. Aurora appears out of thin air, relieved that Dayan has finally been taken down. While admitting he's a stubborn dude, Iowa starts to panic quite a bit. But she's not entirely surprised, because she knew there was no way Aurora would ever lose to Dayan. It looks like Lucas was actually wrong. She's left wondering what he plans to do in this situation. Surprisingly, Julia doesn't look shocked at all because Lucas had already warned her that this exact worst-case scenario might happen. Aurora starts yapping, asking Julia if she's curious about how she tricked Dayan and hid herself. Julia admits she is curious, but she wants to know if Aurora is really going to spill her secrets without holding anything back. Aurora just smiles when she hears this and reaches into her chest. Julia believes that she's about to start stripping and yells at her, telling her that's definitely not what she meant. Aurora tells her it's not what she thinks and whips out a glowing red crystal pendant, which she calls Roar's Promise. This is her big secret, as long as she wears this pendant. Mental attacks are completely useless against her. She actually uses the magic inside the pendant to control her enemies' minds instead. However, the only catch is that once she fully drains the pendant's magic, it remains completely useless for an entire day. Julia realizes this was how she faked her loss to Dayan before hiding. It's also the reason Iowa's mental magic couldn't lay a single finger on her. Aurora says Dayan's mental strength was so overwhelming it drained the pendant's magic in one shot. Julia tells her that, at their current power level, it doesn't matter what dirty tricks they use as long as they win. Just then, Aurora returns to the main goal, telling Julia that she needs to forfeit the match because her magic is depleted and there is no way she can fight. That's the exact reason she was willing to tell her the secret in the first place. Aurora keeps yapping, but Julia sends a small lightning attack her way to let her know that she is not ready to take that offer. Aurora is shocked that Julia is still refusing to back down. Julia lets her know that they will never actually know if she can still win or not until she tries one last time. Aurora decides to fight Julia then. Let's see if she'll get what she's asking for. Suddenly, a massive magic circle erupts right beneath Julia. Sensing that insane power, she knows she is in real trouble. She immediately kicks her speed into high gear, trying to outrun the looming impact zone. But Aurora's flames close the gap instantly, mocking her by saying she just wants to warm her up since she was frozen solid earlier. The fire grows even more violent, scorching Julia with relentless and agonizing intensity. Back during their training, Lucas warned Julia to save some mana for an emergency, since they had no idea what Aurora was truly capable of doing. But Julia is running on fumes after that last massive strike she used against Den. She gets tossed around like a rag doll by Aurora's fire tornado, while the girl constantly tells her to just quit. Aurora is certain Julia's done. She can't even run now, let alone launch a single counterattack. Except, Aurora spots lightning crackling inside the vortex. Julia admits she is right, that she is absolutely and completely drained. But if she uses her own magic's momentum, she can still land one final blow. A massive bolt of lightning tears through the tornado, slamming straight into Aurora. Julia isn't done yet, though. She uses the melted ice from Diane's magic to amplify the shockwave's range even further. It's a direct hit. But Aurora just scoffs. She claims this level of lightning will never be enough to break her down. Suddenly, Julia flips the script, telling Aurora that her previous strike was just a distraction meant to buy her a few precious seconds. Now, she is about to pour every single drop of mana she has left into one final finishing blow. Aurora warns her that lightning and fire colliding means one thing: a massive explosion. Since Julia is stuck inside that phoenix tornado, she is basically in the dead center of the danger. The massive collision triggers a violent blast, sending Julia tumbling a great distance as her bunny flies from her hand while she coughs up blood. She collapses there, exhausted. Hoping the plan worked, as the smoke clears, she finally sees a heavily wounded Aurora standing in the distance. Aurora admits that was a close call, but she's impressed Julia would actually gamble her own life like that. The girl is officially and totally insane. Aurora stumbles back up, unleashing one last devastating fire strike to put Julia down and finish the job. Even Lucas starts to panic. Looking at that power, he truly believes the fight is finally over. As the flames roar toward her helpless form, Julia can't help but wonder, is this really how it ends after all that hard work? Suddenly, the bunny's eyes glow bright, asking Julia if she truly wants to win this fight. Just as the fire is about to hit, a massive surge of lightning intercepts the blast midair, causing a thunderous explosion. Aurora thinks she's won, until she sees Julia standing tall, with lightning dancing across her entire skin. She stands there frozen in shock, unable to believe the scene unfolding right in front of her eyes. Then, Julia activates a high-level advanced spell instantly, without even speaking a single word. An overwhelming flood of lightning erupts, hitting Aurora so hard it feels like her very body and soul are being shredded. The crowd outside the arena is dead silent, completely stunned by the sheer scale of Julia's hidden power. The principals are forced to admit these three contestants have displayed power that goes way beyond their wildest and original expectations. Silwyn mentions they might need to delay the trophy ceremony due to the destruction, but Jerica presents them with a new proposal. He thinks they should give the trio a once-in-a-lifetime audience with the goddess herself. It looks like these three are destined to be the future pillars of the entire empire. Hours later, the hall is packed as the students gather for the ceremony. Jerica reveals Julia just shattered the record as the youngest goddess memorial winner in history. Absolutely legendary. Dayan has to acknowledge Julia's strength despite the loss, but he is already vowing that next time will be different. Aurora can't help but tease him for already thinking about a rematch. She pulls Julia close, giving her a big hug while offering to be her sparring partner whenever she needs a real challenge. Aurora is genuinely blown away by Julia's brilliance because girls like her are a truly rare breed. But Julia refuses to let Dayan hold a grudge and finds a clever way to taunt him. Soon enough, the trio is getting along perfectly. Right after that, the big prize presentation begins, and the principals from every school make their way to the stage. Surprisingly, the prize given to the trio contains the emblem for entering the Temple of Wisdom. This is huge. This is unheard of, since that emblem is usually reserved only for the champion. Jerica explains that all three showed such incredible performances that after some serious discussion, they've granted all three an audience with the goddess herself. The other two principals are absolutely floored that Jerica, the winning principal, was the one who suggested this. They have no idea what he is planning, but they can't pass up such a golden opportunity, so they gladly accept. Julia looks at her teammates, saying they better get along now that they're officially temple-bound companions. Meanwhile, Kai notices Luca's looking pretty stressed, despite his sister's massive win. When challenged, Lucas claims he is just deep in thought, trying to figure out the perfect reward for Julia's big win. Iwa. She scolds him, saying it is compensation, not a reward, since he almost got Julia killed before the event even started. Lucas pivots his plan, promising her a feast and a long, relaxing soak in a spirit spring to recover her strength. Collins points out the nearest spirit spring to Dacton is a massive one-day round trip. Lucas realizes that is a huge problem. Traveling that far isn't exactly relaxing at all. He wishes there was a spot with great food and a spring. Kai chimes in with the answer. Turns out his family house Terry has an incredibly effective spirit spring and some of the best chefs around. His estate is actually massive enough to host the entire class. Kai immediately invites the entire class to his estate and sprints off to break the news to Teshi. While those two are busy planning, Lucas is left wondering just when those two became so close. Soon, you and I see the group arriving at the Tiro estate. Everyone is stunned. The place is so huge it looks more like a castle. Kai's flexing, telling them to relax and hit the spirit spring before dinner is served. They head toward the water, but Lucas spots something strange in the hallway. A portrait hangs on the wall, and it feels like those eyes are watching them. Before Kai can join the fun, he gets a summons from his parents. Later, the maid accidentally swaps the girls' bathrobes by mistake, giving Iwa a stunning look while Julia is practically drowning in her robe. Meanwhile, Kai steps into his father's private office, immediately sensing thick cigarette smoke. Right away, he realizes something big is going down. His father admits his grades are fine, but that is not why he is here. Something else is on his mind. He warns Kai to keep his friends in line. Apparently, a very important guest is arriving at the estate soon. Kai nods along, honestly relieved his dad did not call him in to scream about the total disaster he caused back at school. But even so, he can't figure out why his parents are so stressed when his friends are just here for the spirit spring. Over at the spring, the purple-haired maid is beyond grateful that Julia and Iowa decided to forgive her mistake. She is well aware that one word to her master would have been the end of her career right there. Julia tells her to relax and then turns to Iowa, wondering when she is actually going to get in the water. Iowa says she will only wait until the maid leaves. She is just not comfortable bathing around anyone she does not trust with her life. Suddenly, Mina and the rest of the crew crash the party without any warning at all. Julia is thrilled to see them, while Iowa panics and dives straight into the pool to hide. She clings to Julia, secretly wondering if the others rushed over just to steal the spot right next to her. Soon, everyone is soaking in the spring, and the maid even brings out some snacks to keep them happy. As it happens, Julia was the secret mastermind who invited them. During the girl talk, she starts gushing about her big brother, Lucas. The maid asks if she really has a brother, and Julia proudly confirms that he is the real deal. She claims he is the absolute kindest brother in the entire world. Iowa is not buying it though, remembering how Lucas dragged her through that hellish training session just days ago. Julia pressures Mia to back her up, and Mia awkwardly agrees that Lucas is a pretty wonderful person. But even with Mia's praise, Iowa is still too stubborn to admit that Lucas is actually cool. Mina jumps in, saying Lucas isn't a bad guy, just a bit complicated. He is just insanely overprotective of his sister. While the girls are busy arguing, things are starting to get weird. The purple-haired maid stands back, watching the group with a very intense gaze. Teshi is the first one to finish up and heads out to get changed. But the moment she is done, she bumps right into Kai. Kai's face turns bright red when Teshi gets close, asking him to show her his usual training spot. Looking like a total tomato, he stammers and tells her to just follow his lead. Kai is left wondering why she is so interested in him, not realizing she is just curious about the estate's training grounds. Meanwhile, on the boys' side, things are chill. Eventually, everyone but Lucas leaves the spring to go play some cards. Being alone in the water brings back dark memories of Lucas's past life and the constant bullying he endured. The memory hits so hard that Lucas punches the pool floor, leaving a massive crack in the stone. The purple-haired maid comes charging into the room, frantically asking if he is okay after she heard that loud, sudden crash. Lucas plays it cool, lying and saying his hand just slipped. The maid dives into the pool anyway, insisting that she needs to check him for any injuries. Before he can even protest, she is already in the water right next to him. She claims she will be fired on the spot if she does not do her job perfectly. Lucas starts to wonder if the Tiroi house is actually way too strict with their staff. Since she is already in the water, he just sighs and tells her to do whatever she wants. But then, the maid grabs Lucas from behind and starts whispering total gibberish. She massages his arm, praising his toned muscles because he is a legendary martial artist. But as she talks, she brings up Julia's name, mentioning how much she enjoyed her company. Instantly, the mood shifts. Lucas flips into his terrifying crazy persona. The maid feels a massive hand closing in as Lucas demands to know what she did to his sister. Before Lucas can strike, she leaps straight out of the water. Lucas realizes something immediately. She is no ordinary maid. Those movements, that is the grace of a high-level martial artist. Lucas jumps out after her. Gearing up for a fight, he asks what she is doing in House Taro. The maid strolls over to where the towels are kept, claiming she is just a simple mercenary worker doing it all for the money and nothing more. She tells Lucas that Julia and the others spoke highly of his incredible power and skill. She admits she is also a martial artist, and because of that, she deeply admires him. Suddenly, she hurls towels at Lucas, declaring she came here to test his legendary skills for herself. Using the towels as a distraction, she rushes in to close the gap on Lucas. But he dodges effortlessly. He notes he did not feel any actual killing intent when she snuck up earlier. As they clash, Lucas looks her in the eye and asks what exactly she sees in him. Lucas lands a heavy punch, sending her back. She confesses she is only interested because of the rumors about his strength. The lady whips the towel around, turning it into a deadly weapon to strike at Lucas. But he blocks the entire impact with a single arm. She wraps the fabric around him to pull him in, but he is too strong. She gets pulled instead. Lucas strikes her across the face with the towel, knocking her straight to the floor. He walks over, trying to identify her, but he has never seen her face before. Just then, Kai calls from outside, asking if Lucas is still finishing up in the spring. Lucas realizes he can keep her pinned until Kai arrives to help identify this mysterious intruder. Lucas reaches out to grab her, but she just smiles, saying they will have to finish their little game another time. No way he is letting her go. But before he can act, magic ripples through the air and she vanishes. Lucas stands there baffled as Kai finally enters the room, shouting at the top of his lungs, telling Lucas to hurry up before Julia eats every last scrap of the food. Lucas defends his sister, but Kai points out that everyone around her keeps turning her into a glutton. Basically, Iowa and the rest keep shoving sweets her way, and Julia is not one to say no. Then the scene shifts suddenly. The purple-haired lady is in a guest room, putting on a very familiar mask. The exact same one worn by the mysterious lady who arrived at the festival earlier. Kai's parents walk in and call her the Saint Princess, asking what on earth she is doing. She shushes them with a wink, telling them today's little encounter stays their little secret. Fast forward a few days. Students have gathered to send off the 3 chosen to visit the goddess temple. The crowd is loud and excited until Jerica appears, demanding complete silence. He begins his speech, explaining the ancient origin of the goddess and the memorial festival, a tradition that has allowed many talented students the honor of standing before her. Word is out. Julia, Diane, and Aurora are officially temple-bound today. But there is a twist. No teacher escorts are joining them this time. It is risky business, considering how dangerous the road ahead actually is. Jerica conjures a tiny magic bird, handing it to Julia as their guide. Looking at how chunky that bird is, though, Julia is already eyeing it as emergency rations. Jerica calls for a prayer as the 3 girls finally set off. Maya and the others offer silent prayers for their friends. They hope for a safe return and more glory for the school. Julia waves goodbye, thanking everyone while promising they will be back soon. Once they are gone, Jerica sends the students back to their classes. Kai leans over to Lucas, whispering how cold it is to send them alone. Collins and Sharp agree it would be a nightmare if something went wrong. Lucas is surprised by all this sudden, gloomy talk from his friends. They realize they are being downers and quickly apologize for it. Lucas remembers his friends acting like this before, back when they were sick. He even had them take pills to help. But it looks like the symptoms are back. He knows he needs to investigate. But first, he has something way more urgent to handle. A bit later, as Julia and the others travel away, Diane senses something strange heading their way. He does not hesitate, throwing up an ice shield to block what turns out to be a stick. Julia checks it out. It is weird, definitely not the kind of weapon for an ambush. Aurora starts teasing Diane, calling him sweet for being so worried about a little twig. Julia then notices that the end of the stick is actually scorched. Meanwhile, Lucas finally catches up, keeping a low profile on the nearby rooftops. He is stalking them quietly from the roofline. Apparently, he left a clone in class to cover for his lectures. That clone was the one that accidentally punched that stick away while training. The clone only has 10% of his actual power. Back at the academy, Sigalt is watching the clone train. He is shocked that Lucas lost his cool and blasted a stick off the dummy. This has never happened before. At the same time, Lucas feels something off. There is a weird presence hiding in Julia's training dummy, a presence that he does not recognize at all. Specifically, to create stories and translate them into other languages. So after having the translation and checking the translation in detail, and I gave this translation to our partner abroad to create audio and process the audio, we have an audio file like this as for the images. That appear in our videos are collected from Google Images, and then we will only select images that fall under usage rights allowed for reuse and modification. We use Google's rights filtering tool according to the